I'm really excited that we've announced the 4 NASCAR National Series in our 4 game. For the first time ever, we're going to feature the ARCA Menards Racing Series and entry point for the career mode. Featuring all 4 series allow us to give the player a complete experience that somebody might make to become a champion.
So why having ARCA trucks, Xfinity and Cup is so important, especially from a design perspective, is we finally get to do what is a realistic career mode that somebody would actually follow in real life. Think about the drivers who started in ARCA, cut their teeth in ARCA, went then to trucks, got noticed, got to Xfinity, and finally made their mark in Cup.
So yeah, Todd and I spent a lot of time just talking about the feeling of what it would be like if you were a young kid and you're starting your grandpa's shop, and his shop was this like dirty old gas station, and he just kind of said, hey, you can use my shop, there's the tools, have at it. And then through that, you started to realize that you actually had some talent. And you worked your way up, and you went from the shop to there was a pole barn or a metal building that's also on the property, and that's where you run your truck team. And then you start to get more sponsors, and you start to have more success. So then you move up to the Xfinity Series, and then at that point you can build your own shop, and you get more success there, and it just keeps steamrolling. And then all of a sudden you get to the point where you're in the Cup Series, and that's where we built the Taj Mahal of race shops.
In the career mode, you'll be tasked with making decisions on how to spend your time. And it's not all about just what you do on the racetrack. You're going to have to do things to build your reputation. And that might be charitable work or a movie opportunity. There's going to be things that your sponsors ask you to do. And you'll have to balance between building your reputation and your brand and being successful on the racetrack.
Having access to Dale Jr. has been amazing. We've never had the ability to work with a driver at this level before, and not just somebody who just comes in and plays the game and says, that's good. He's actually actively involved in helping design the game.
Designing out the career mode was a Herculean effort because you want to make sure that you have all the right details in there about what makes a NASCAR career really authentic. But at the same time, you don't want to make everybody have to go through all the minutia of managing a race team and the finances and the employees. So really, it's a nice balance, and I think we've pulled this off really well in NASCAR 25, where if you want to just concentrate as being a driver, you can do that while mildly being involved in some of the decision making. But if you want to go in there and manage every last little detail, you're going to be able to do that as well.
I feel like it gives them more of a perspective of how it actually works, right? Coming up through the ranks, deciding how to upgrade your vehicle, right? Those are decisions that you've got to make in real life. Do you want to buy a new set of shocks? I only have this allocated amount of money, right? Do I buy a new set of shocks? Do I, rebuild my engine? Do I buy a new set of tires? And those are the decisions that, like I said, I've had to make in my career, and to be able to correlate, that story and create, sort of your own blueprint in your career, I think is a neat aspect of the game.
One of the cool things about finishing a race in this game is going to be how your performance has resonated within the social media world. So it's not just going to be drivers who might be commenting on how you performed during the race on social media, but some of the most popular NASCAR social media influencers will be chiming in as well. Part of this game being all about the driver's perspective is the interaction that drivers have between themselves and their crew chief and their spotter. So that's something that we're really focusing on while you're in the car, while you're driving, while you're in the menus, making it feel less like a UI screen and more like an interaction between you and them.
So we've really put together the most amazing team that I can think of to build a NASCAR game. We've got decades of experience across many of us, across every platform imaginable. We've got laser scanned assets. We've got amazing driving physics. We've got literally a company that has been built on the foundation of being authentic and true to the sport. And you add all those things together, and it's really this recipe to make the best NASCAR experience possible.
For more information about the game, visit NASCAR25.com, where you can sign up for email updates and view more content, and be sure to follow us on social media at NASCAR25Game.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we recap the twists and turns of Interlagos. Garrett Lowe goes from sim to reality. And we take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. We are in Richmond, which means it's gonna be maybe a bumpy ride. Maybe, just a little bit. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me as always, we have Ryan Vargas, we have Alan Cavana. How are you two doing?
Man, I am excited. I am excited. Richmond is the action track, right? You're going to see multiple grooves of racing. These guys are going to be sliding all over the place, slamming into each other. It's going to be a show.
Yeah, you put it perfectly, Camille. A bumpy ride, short track racing in this series with so much on the line. We're going to break down the numbers later, but if you can win tonight, that's a pretty good indication of how far you're going to go for the year, possibly win a championship. Tonight will tell us a lot about who wins and how far they can go.
Ooh, Alan, I feel like you're giving us a tease for the trends, but we'll get to that a little later. Yes, this is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, but we also have another series that's happening. Ryan, tell us what's going on the college series side.
Yeah, we just had a college series race at Iowa Speedway. Parker White got the dub. I mean, what these Coke Series guys out here, right? They're hustling and bustling at the front, but nonetheless, a great show here. You see Iowa Speedway always puts on a great show, multiple grooves of racing, a lot of beating and banging. And Alan, I mean, look at these cars. It's awesome to see all the schools represented and all these drivers fighting for some tuition money.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at they're fighting. They are indeed on the backstretch there at Iowa, 5-6 wide, and some of these getting a little air. But that's what you got to do in this series because you're fighting to make a name. You're fighting for a little tuition money. That is 5 wide into Iowa. Not going to work. But so that's where you learn your mistakes. And again, we got some of our Coke Series drivers in this. Some of the biggest schools out there, Ohio State, Iowa, represented. That's what's so neat about this is that you can rep your school, you can get a little money, maybe even some credit, Ryan. A great series to be in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you saw right there, the time attack is still going on. You have 2 more days to try and get your laps in to qualify for the race. And we got the paint scheme contest going on. If you want to scan that QR code right there at the bottom right of your screen, you can look at how you can enter to try and make a paint scheme that these drivers are going to race. And some of the kind of neat prizes that these guys are going to get, they're going to get 500 iRacing credits and an iRacing swag bag. I mean, I don't know who I got to talk to. Maybe producer Drew. Maybe I could get a swag bag.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, someone here, I don't think you could see it, but there you go. Someone's rocking the iRacing swag. Alan,
Ryan.
Ryan.
NASCAR at least. It looks nice.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But yeah, the paint scheme, you got to check that out. I mean, you could win some good stuff, and that's what it's all about, but also having fun. And in our series here, the Coca-Cola series, we are having lots of fun, especially Alan, but we'll get to that a little later in the show. Last week, the series took us to Interlagos, Ryan.
Yeah, Interlagos. It was so cool to me watching these NASCAR Next Gens take on another international circuit. Obviously, this past race's instance, Interlagos. I mean, you just see how crazy this is. And yeah, these guys may be pros, but getting through turn 1 is still a bit chaotic, Alan.
Yeah, it just shows you how tough it can be, what it's like to bring a new venue in, and how important it was. This is Steven Wilson getting by Vicente Salas. That turned out to be the winning pass. Not the only action going on in the field, of course, but all these drivers, some of the best that we have, trying to navigate and learn this worldwide, well-known course. That part was cool. And then you see the action, 3 wide into a corner in Interlagos. Not always going to work, Ryan. So there was a lot of learning going on, a lot of action going on back in the field. Some of the best had some trouble with the elevation changes, the left and rights. That's what was so neat about this track.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, nobody was able to stop Steven Wilson. He was able to kind of get himself established at the front of the field early. We talked about it there, and you see a little bit of ripping and gouging here, trying to make a track position. I mean, we saw my pick, Vicente Salas, try and challenge your pick, but, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, and back in the field, I mean, we had great battles going on. I mean, Casey Kerwin here at the end. Nick Ottinger had to come back from an earlier spin. Tough start to the season for him. Great battle here at the end. Bobby Z, Vicente Salas trying to get that final position. And good battles throughout. It's just, look, Steven Wilson, he's the man sometimes. And
he proved it on that night.
Yeah, as you see right here, Steven Wilson kind of taking the checkered flag here, getting to the end of this race. He has won every race that his internet has worked. So that means he won Daytona, he won Interlagos. The only race he didn't win was Vegas, and that was because he lagged out, but he was in the lead. So right here, the internet is the only thing at the moment that could stop Steven Wilson. Can he continue that prowess tonight? He won at Richmond last year, and man, I don't see any reason why he would slow down. Right here, here's the blink out right here as we get it, and gone, out of there. But he was able to make it up in Interlagos, though. That's the nice thing, Alan.
Yeah, and that's what I was really looking at. Is like, look, there are only so many opportunities to get a victory here in the Coke Series, and when you have to take advantage of those. And there's 2 road courses. Guys like Bobby Z, Vicente Salas, some others who excel at these road courses, and what they do, they let Steven Wilson get another win. I worry about these missed opportunities for guys like Bobby Z, Vicente Salas. If they don't get another win, they're going to look back on a race like Interlagos and say, we should have done it then, and we let it get away. We let Steven Wilson get another win because that's just stacking points for Steven. That is just a missed opportunity for some of the best road course racers we have in this series. They didn't get the dub. Steven Wilson did.
Ryan, I feel like maybe the other drivers need to figure out how they could turn off Steven Wilson's internet. I don't know.
Yeah, someone's gonna be going over there pulling wires or something.
Okay, maybe don't do that. But you know what I like to do, and what we like to do here at Countdown to Green, is hear from the drivers. And the driver that we caught up with before the series started, Jimmy Mullis, who is of course a driver from former 2014 NASCAR Cup Series champ Kevin Harvick. This is him talking about some of the things that he loves about NASCAR video games.
Favorite Coke product is definitely Diet Coke. I drink it every day. Jimmy Mullis from Midland, North Carolina. This will be my 9th season in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. It's completely different from when I started. The series has gone through a lot of growth and a lot of change throughout the last, 9 years that I've been around. It's more so inviting for new people to get involved, and it's definitely more accessible for just about anyone now compared to what it used to be, which is exciting. Definitely going to be different this year, having a lot of new faces in the series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all works out. First NASCAR video game for me would have been probably NASCAR 2000. My favorite of all time, though, would have to be NASCAR 2004. Biggest accomplishment would be winning the 2021 All-Star race in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, as well as making the playoffs for 2 years in a row in 2020 and 2021. Still chasing the big championship overall. That's my biggest goal for sure. I think to get back to the top, I just need to work on my execution and work on my preparation. If I could qualify better, things would go a lot easier in the race. Most looking forward to Charlotte. Feel like I've got some business to take care of since I got the win stolen from me last year there in the photo finish, which was the closest finish in eNASCAR history.
Garrett Lowe by 1/1000th of a second.
Super excited about Rockingham being on our schedule this year. It's a track that's kind of close to home for me, and I actually was able to go there when I was a kid. So super excited to be able to race there. Interlagos is going to be very unique as well. I love road courses, so I think that one's going to be really fun and put on a good show. A tip that I would give someone trying to get into the series is be prepared for a tall task ahead of you. It's definitely not easy to be in this series. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's a big commitment. So if it's something you really want to do, it's definitely doable. It's really fun, and you definitely reap a lot of benefits from being in it, but it's a big challenge, and it's just about whether you're up for the task or not. I want to be remembered as a guy that was respectable and honest and stand up as a person. I also want to be remembered for being respectful on the track as well. I put a lot of work in and have a lot of respect for all my competitors, and just hope that I can get the same.
Yeah, we heard from Jimmy Mullis there. He's a veteran of this series. You mentioned it earlier. 9 years he has competed at the highest level of stock car racing in the iRacing platform. So he's always been one of those guys who's kind of been a fringe championship pick. He just hasn't had that one thing go his way. But tonight, he's racing at Richmond Raceway. He's actually a former driver for the former Richmond Raceway esports team. So a lot riding on tonight, wanting to do really well here, Alan.
Yeah, and it just shows how tough the competition here is in this series. I mean, he is a mainstay of this series. And for him to just be on the cusp all this time, but car owners obviously still love him, want him on their team. But it just shows you the difference between being in the series, competing in that little upper echelon of winner and champion. The difference is close, but it means a lot.
It does mean a lot. You know what means a lot to me is that he just wants to be a respectable guy that gives respect to other drivers. You know, I think that's the way.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. So, you know, he's having fun out there, and, you know, we wish him all the best this year or this season. But for now, I want to wish all of us the best because we're not showing our rigs. I was like, we're going to show our rigs now. I was going to scare Alan.
Camera down.
No, but we're going to show some rigs of you guys at home because it is time for my favorite segment of the show. This is Show Us Your Rigs, brought to you by Logitech. And our first rig here, I'm loving the blue, Jacob.
Oh yeah, this is really nice mood lighting. Got the NASCAR wheel rim going on there with the little tape. I love that. Very Logitech shifter mouse combo. Lots of seat time. You can see there it's kind of, kind of worn out. So you've been getting a lot of practice on there. I love the mic. I love the lighting. Clearly, this must be a Texan. I see some cowboy swag up there, some Texas Rangers. So Jacob, great job down there in Texas. Everything's bigger, including those monitors.
Everything's bigger, and Adam is bringing a nice setup here, nice and clean. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I really like this setup. I especially like the wall-mounted keyboard stand right there. I'm a big fan of that. It beats my bar stool that I have off to my right here for my mouse, but nonetheless, a really nice setup here. Nice curved monitor, kind of similar to the similar setup that I got here with a curved monitor. And notice the office chair too. That just kind of shows the versatility of what you can do with your sim rigs. You can race, on an office chair. You can have a full-blown rig or everything.
Well, our next one is from a Team Dillon esports driver, Blaze. And Blaze is obviously showing the Coca-Cola love there, as you can see.
Yeah, hey, look, if you want to know what it's like to be a pro or if you want to be a pro, this is the setup. This is a setup right here. 4 monitors. Blaze knows how to get it done. Very clean setup. Super comfy seat for the races that he's got to go through. And this is where he works. This is his office. So you can see that's what he uses to get it done. I like it. Really clean, crisp setup going after a title.
Yeah, you know what the best thing about this is sometimes you see rigs that have such big setups and then you see something more compact there that Blaze had. This next one is from Nathan, and Nathan's bringing in that RGB love as well. We got that blue lighting.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I like the custom tube frame that he's got here. It looks really good. The cable management is on point. Look at the little wrap there in the bottom. Triple monitor here. He's a triple monitor guy. I respect it. I like the seat belts. I like the 4-point harness that he's got there. I think that would come pretty handy for me if I ever hop into some more Carb Cup races. But nonetheless, really, really good race there. Really good race.
Our last one is from Brian Donald Baker. Lots of screens, Alan.
Yeah, you talked about a triple. How about a double triple? I'm counting, 6 screens there, 2 pads. I mean, a lot going on here, a lot of information. I don't know if that's if that's the race down there or if he's watching NASCAR racing while he is eNASCAR racing. So I like the setup, whatever it is. Got the extra rim sitting there on the wall. Brian Donald Baker doing it very, very well. Yeah, they're pointing out to me that is maybe a live race and a live concert while you are practicing iRacing. So multi-talented Brian down here. I love it.
Yeah, and you could just switch out your wheels, as you choose. There you go. They're just on the wall there. You got to love it. And remember, you could send in your rigs at home so we could all have a look. We love to see them. Just give us a shout out on any social media platform, tagging iRacing and eNASCAR GG. All right. Now, we like to check with drivers, as I said before. And our next driver that we're going to check in with, Garrett Lowe from BS Plus Competition Racing. Well, he's going to talk to us about some of his favorite tracks, as well as a track that maybe he wants to see in the future in the series.
never seen Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm sorry for everyone I just offended. Garrett Lowe, Gastonia, North Carolina. This is my 7th season in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I am most looking forward to Rockingham and Charlotte. Charlotte because we won there last year, and Rockingham because it's a new track we hadn't been to. Not looking forward to the same playoff races of Texas and Michigan and Phoenix, but still looking forward to Homestead to wrap up the year. I've been protested probably close to 15 times. Not sure why everyone likes to do that to me, but they do. So 2025 is quite a bit different than 2019. 2019 we're still on the Gen 6 car with a lot of downforce and a lot of throttle time. And the next gen's a lot more difficult to drive, a lot more harder to manage traffic. And the races are a lot wilder. You typically get a bunch of cautions in the middle, and strategy is anywhere from 2 tires to 4 tires to fuel mileage. So not as cut and dry as it used to be, but definitely a lot of changes and a lot of new faces in the series. Hopefully I'm the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. Favorite track I've been to, Sebring. So one track I'd add to the series schedule would definitely be New Hampshire. I won there in 23. It's a good track. I think there's enough lanes you can move around in traffic and make good moves, while also not having to drive through people to make those passes. I have Charlotte circled on the calendar for this year to go win. My biggest motivation for 2025 is to go win that title, take home that championship and the big check. To get to the top, I think we have to perform better as a team in the playoffs. Obviously, we've done well in the past years through the season, but we need to work on our playoff execution and race strategy. I want to be remembered as a champion. Tip I wish I would have been given when I started is it is very difficult to make it all the way to the top. I knew that going in, but not until I really ran for the Road to Pro Championship to make it into the Contender Series. At that time, I realized how challenging it was to really make the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Good stuff there, and you can see him getting ready tonight. Garrett Lowe getting ready for the race tonight, practicing at Richmond, trying to get that win. I love his aspirations, right? I want to be champion. You see what he does to get it done, how close it comes to getting those wins and getting the checkered flags. That's what'll get you eventually to that championship level. And the aspirations, guys, they go beyond just the eNASCAR Coke Series. He has real-world aspirations. And he had the coolest announcement to share with all of us. We'll let him do it here because it's more than just sim racing. He's going to real world.
Hey guys, Garrett Lowe here. Today we have a special announcement. We're going to be going full-time racing in the NASCAR Euro Pro Series in 2025 in conjunction with promotion and BS Plus competition. You know, we've been racing the Prodigy Racing League and had a lot of success there. We want to build on that success in real-world racing and bring that to a real-world NASCAR series, and using our learning from eNASCAR to move that into the real world as well. It's a super exciting opportunity. I'm really looking forward to being able to meet everybody and continue on this learning journey. Stay tuned for more action and announcements upcoming before the start of the season in Valencia, Spain, April 12th and 13th.
And that's the car he'll race tonight and in the real world. Just awesome news. These are the stories we want to tell. Sim to reality, whether you're a designer, an engineer, but especially the drivers that we have seen, the Josh Berrys, the William Byrons, Garrett Lowe, the next one to do that over in the Europe Series. Ryan, something you know a lot about.
Yeah, no, it's so exciting to see Garrett Lowe be able to make this jump into real-world racing. I know he's done some Legends car racing, right? But to jump over to the NASCAR Euro Series, look, I was fortunate enough to spend a full season last year over racing in the NASCAR Euro Series, and I will say this, it is some of the most competitive, most exciting, and most thrilling atmosphere that you could have at a racetrack. Yes, it's NASCAR in Europe. Yes, it's like, oh, you know, it's not, you know, how different is it? I'm telling you, these fans over there, their chest is excited. You go to Brands Hatch, there was 55,000 fans throughout the weekend. So super exciting for Garrett Lowe, BS Plus competition, and just all the folks over there at Brimotion. I got to meet the Brimotion folks, got to meet the BS Plus folks in the Czech Republic for that race too. So just an overall really cool deal. I'm really excited to see Garrett Lowe get this opportunity and the Euro Series get its much-deserved flowers.
Yeah, you did some driving in that car, right? Around in the city?
Yeah, so one of the cool things that the Euro Series does is for a majority of the races, we'll take the cars on after the practice day or after the load day and do a parade through the town and kind of go through, rev our engines, you'll see all the fans lined up along the side of the roads. It's really a thrilling experience. Jerome and Ann, who spearhead the series, Joe Balish over there, they do an incredible job of making it a very fan-first atmosphere. So Garrett Lowe is going to feel right at home when he gets after it.
Well, congratulations, Garrett. Obviously, we're so excited to see what you're going to do in the real world as well. We like to talk to the drivers, obviously. We checked in with 2 of them, but how about we check in with a bunch of them with a bunch of rapid questions, random questions? Why don't we do that? This is Rapid Fire.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, all day, every day. Best drink in the world.
My favorite Coca-Cola product, I'm gonna say Coke Zero Sugar. I've found myself drinking that a lot lately.
Regular Coke in a bottle though. I prefer the bottle over the can. That's my favorite product.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is vanilla Coca-Cola. I love me some Sprite. I've been having it all day.
Favorite Coca-Cola product is just the straight up original Coca-Cola. Can't get much better than that.
Favorite Coca-Cola product. This might be out of left field, but that caffeine-free Coca-Cola hits different.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is Coca-Cola Energy.
I'm gonna have to go with just good old regular Coke in the nice glass bottle. It can't be beat.
Nothing beats the refreshing taste of the regular Coca-Cola product.
I'm just a big fan of just the classic Coca-Cola. Can't beat it, especially ice cold when it's hot outside. First sip, can't beat it.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is Jack and Coke.
Cherry Coke is my favorite Coca-Cola product.
Diet Coke.
It's my favorite.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is definitely Diet Coke.
My favorite Coca-Cola product is Coke Zero.
Favorite Coca-Cola product would be Coke Zero. I'm not a big fan of sugar.
Yes, I've been protested on iRacing plenty of times. I lost count.
I have never been protested on iRacing.
I have been protested only about 3 to 5 times.
I've definitely been protested. I don't know the amount of times, but it used to be a lot more, but now not so much.
Oh, I mean, come on. I mean, I've been protested countless times. I have a record. I think the last time I've been protested was 2 years ago, honestly.
The last one I recall was probably 2016 New Hampshire, where I wrecked half the field.
Yes, I've been protested. Once I got suspended.
My first protest was me crashing Jeff McConey in a C Open at Talladega.
I have never been protested as far as I know.
Yes, I have been protested roughly 3 times.
I'm pretty sure I have been protested quite a few times in my time on iRacing.
Probably about 4 or 5. I only got suspended once, though. Most of them were just like petty warnings and whatnot.
I have been protested, yes. I have no idea how many times.
Yes, I have been protested probably about 4 times, but it's been about 8 years.
Oh man, I've probably been protested on iRacing probably 3 times or so.
I've never been protested on iRacing in like official capacity, but plenty of times when I've run into people in eNASCAR series. So
many times. I'm not scared to get my obas out on the virtual track.
Yeah, it's really funny to see. These guys may be pros, but they're no strangers to being protested. For those who don't know, being protested on the iRacing service is basically when you get caught breaking one of the sporting code regulations for iRacing. So I've been protested myself. I'm curious to know what iRacing staff members have been protested. I think that's more of an internal question, but very funny stories nonetheless.
I feel like if you haven't been protested as a driver, you are not trying hard enough.
Yeah, you're not
right. I mean, you are not in the action.
Yeah.
So
it's a rite of passage, and
badge
I feel
of
like
honor.
In terms of the iRacing producers, Drew's probably the one that got protested,
yeah,
but somehow no one
maybe
knows
Cisco,
about it,
but I don't know.
Maybe Cisco. I don't know, but we'll find out, and then we'll report back to everyone here. But for now, let's check in with segment 1, Alan. We have our standings as we're approaching the end of segment 1.
Yeah, look, it's important. It's always important to look at the playoff standings. Steven Wilson with his 2 wins on top. Colin Keister, his memorable win. he's up there as well. The top 10 ultimately make the playoffs. So these are the playoff standings right now. Jimmy Mullis in by just 2, but you can look on the right side of your screen. So many drivers within 10 points, not over, far from it, Ryan.
Yeah, and you see right here, we're almost done with segment 1. Remember, there is a big points bonus and nice little cash prize at the end of these segments. So going into Rockingham, there's a lot on the table for these guys. And right here, this is kind of where all the chips are on the table for segment 1. You see the big notable change at the top of the leaderboard. Parker White leads this standings. That just shows how important that internet loss for Steven Wilson was there, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's 5 points for the playoffs, $3,000 that Parker White is chasing right there. So yeah, big loss for him. He's got to make that up, but a huge potential victory for Parker White that could carry him who knows how far that those extra points and that extra money may go for him. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal, but you know what's a bigger deal right now? Richmond Raceway drivers are looking forward to it. Ryan, what can they expect?
Oh yeah, a lot of wide multi-groove racing here at Richmond. This place is 3/4 of a mile long. Banking is 14 degrees in the corners, 8 degrees on the straightaways. This place opened in 1946 as a half mile. It got reconfigured many, many years ago, and last year's winner was Steven Wilson.
And now we'll look at some of the trends for this track. We were teasing them earlier, but look, the winner has started on the pole here in 1/3 of the races. Most recently, Bobby Z back in 2023. So you start up front, you do well. In the last 6 races, the winner has led the most laps. 2/3 of Richmond winners have led the most laps. This is one of the tracks we've been to 15 times. 10 times the leader with the most laps has won the race. 87%. Listen to this. 87% of Richmond winners have won again in the same season. That includes 12 of the last 13 seasons. Could be very telling if Steven Wilson does it again, or we get a new winner. They're probably going to win again. Says the stats, says the trends. Every race winner here at Richmond has made the playoffs that season. All right, you say that's probably, we expect that to happen, but get this, 50% of Richmond winners have advanced to the championship 4. Think about that. You win tonight, you have a 50% shot of making it to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and $100,000 on the line. Something to think about. Will the winner be one to compete for the championship? And 4 winners have won the championship in the same season. That goes all the way back to Richard Towler in 2010, Kenny Humpy in 2011, and then our boy Ray Alfala in 2011, 2018. Again, the winner of Richmond in the past has told us a lot about the future. Will that continue in 2025? We'll see.
Well, we will have to see. But right now, what we're going to see is our points where we are in our driver picks. Ooh. Alan, I'll give you just a moment to gloat.
That's a really high number.
Right,
I mean, I think that you want the high number. Yeah.
Too much. Whatever. With that said, let's see who our picks are for Richmond. Ryan, let's start with you.
Well, we've been talking Steven Wilson all week long, but I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to say Tucker Minter. He was really strong last season. He was one of the only guys who was really able to challenge Steven Wilson in last year's Richmond race. I think tonight is the day that he breaks the Wilson streak and gets it done.
So surprising, Ryan. You said the only thing that can stop Steven Wilson is the internet. I'm betting on Steven Wilson once again. I bet he defeats the internet and defeats every other driver in the Coke Series tonight. And I maintain my lead, Camille.
Well, it may be the easiest choice, but it's also the smart choice because I also am going with Wilson, and fingers crossed that the internet will survive for this one as well.
Yeah.
But for now, for all of us here, we have our hopes, and you have your hopes of your driver. Well, guess what? Right after this break, you're going to be able to catch up with Evan and Kenneth for the race itself and see how it all goes down in Richmond. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching Countdown to Green.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition, making your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Welcome to Truck Country, where sweat becomes fuel, bumpers become bruisers, and pedals become pedestals. Where a future is written, one lap at a time, and burned into history. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
They tried to drag me down, but look who's laughing now. Look who's laughing now. I believe in something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. Put in the hours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire.
The road to $500,000 heads to the action track for the first heat racing night of the season. From iRacing's virtual Richmond Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 4 of the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Sprints, heats, points, you got segment championships. There is a lot going on, despite the fact that it's still early in this season. And as always, happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us. Alongside Kenneth Bueno, my name is Evan Pasoko. And Kenneth, I'll be honest, after 3 weeks off and a race at Interlagos, I thought this was the F1 summer break. It's not, and we are back. 2 races to go in this segment and a season that has been dominated by Stephen Wilson thus far.
But one thing, Evan, that you got to keep in mind is that the driver's got to pick off the rust a little bit. It's been quite a while since we've gone racing. Interlagos was a huge curveball for the entire field, and Richmond, although it's been a mainstay in the Coke Series calendar for many years on end, it always provides its level of challenges and its level of chaos. First time we go short track racing this season, which means we'll probably see a lot of carnage. It's all going to be about who survives in this heat racing format tonight.
And you heard on Countdown to Green, this race seems to be very prophetic. If you're good at Richmond, you seem to have a good chance of having a good rest of 2025. So we mentioned first heat racing format of the season. Well, let's explain that and walk through it as we take a look at tonight's race program, Kenneth.
Yeah, for this race tonight, the debut of heat racing for 2025 as we see it. And here at Richmond, we'll tell you all about it. So qualifying is similar to what you usually find on other tracks. Lone qualifying, you got to get one lap in within the 5 minutes that you are allotted, and no additional points for the fastest lap. So you just try to put yourself on the front row at the top spot, and then you'll be decided into these 2 heat races. So heat 1 will decide the inside row for the main feature race later this night. We'll have 25 laps on tap, no cautions at all. So if you find yourself in carnage, well, good luck to you in trying to gain all that track position back. Top 10 and get points. And it's sort of similar to dual racing at Daytona, with heat 1 being the inside row deciders. Heat 2 will decide who sits on the outside row for the main race. Again, no cautions, points awarded to those in the top 10, so drivers may be a little aggressive to move up to the front and get those well-needed points. And then it lands us to the feature race, 70 laps on tap, one that is a dash to the checkered flag, one that does have standard points and checkered flags dealt with it, so you can lock yourself into the playoffs by winning that feature race. And the inside row, outside row, Evan, decided by those heat races, so track position means everything.
And here's your reminder as we get set to get underway tonight for NASCAR Fan Rewards member to enter tonight's code Richmond 4SJ on your member dashboard. Bank in 50 points. And if you, for some reason, are not already signed up for NASCAR Fan Rewards, do so now. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit NASCAR.com/fan rewards. Well, that single car qualifying session is done. Let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid and pole position for heat race number 1. Fastest time overall is the BS competition 89 of Jordi Lopez, who'll be joined on the front row by 3rd fastest qualifier overall, P2 on the grid, the KHI number 29 of Jimmy Mullis. Row number 2, it is the Channel 199 Sim Racing number 2 of Zach Novak ahead of the Spire Motorsports 77 of Steven Wilson, who is ISO of another race win. Could he possibly get number 3 on the year? He has a good place to get it kicked off. Then the second of the 199 cars, it is the 199. Dylan Duvall, he's next to the ERA Esports team's 22 of Bobby Zelensky.
And then behind them, inside row 4, is the BS Plus competition number 99 of Garrett Lowe. Really exciting news that he's going to be Euro NASCAR racing next year, alongside Donovan Strauss in a new number and with a newly named team, the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Camp. Going to have the number 4 with Strauss for the rest of 2025 in row number 4. FGR has Ryan Luza, former Richmond winner in the 12 car from inside row 5, and the other Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Chevrolet, it's Parker White, defending champ in the 95 machine in 10th. Nick Ottinger has won multiple races in his Richmond career throughout the Coke Series tenure for William Byron Esports in the number 25 inside row 6. And Vegas Inferno has the number 1 machine, the Chevrolet Malik Ray, in P12.
Back on row number 7, you'll see the Letarte Esports number 40 of Connor Urashak, the team headed by NASCAR broadcaster Steve Letarte. Next to the Vegas Inferno, 21 of Michael Guest. I know the Inferno have got a watch party going on tonight. We say hi to all of them. Row number 8, it is the FGR Racing 14 of Seth the Merchant, and the second of that Jesse Iwuji operated ERA Esports team. That's the 34 of Michael Cozy Jr. Back on row number 9, it is Austin Dillon's car, the Team Dillon Esports number 3 of Blaze Crawford. And to the outside, the Junior Motorsports infamous number 8, that's Blake McCandless.
And then there's the final row, number 10 for 19th and 20th, Apex Racing's Cody Bias in the 98, making his 11th Richmond career start. And Alexander Russell at the very back of this, the rookie for Kanan Esports in the 66, to try to carve his way through the field to get some well-needed points in Heat 1.
It is a look top to bottom at your starting grid for heat race number 1. Let's work on bringing in the 3rd member of tonight's broadcast team. As always, James Pike's going to be on the radio with these drivers, giving us updates all throughout this one. And in that single car qualifying session earlier, it was Jordi Lopez with the 21.827 to secure overall pole and P1 on the grid for heat race number 1. James has got him on the radio.
Jordi Lopez gets pole for BS competition. Jordi, you've improved your qualifying position in every race so far this year, from 30-30 Daytona now, on pole for Heat 1 at Richmond. Is there something that you've figured out about qualifying in these first few races of the season?
Honestly, not really. I just, the car just felt very good here. I'm kind of surprised that I'm up here, but we're going to just try to use the opportunity to to hopefully stay up front and hopefully have a dub by the end of the race for the night.
2 top 15s in his 2 starts here in prior Coke Series races for Jordi Lopez. He'll look to equal that or go better this evening.
He's got a good chance to do so. I believe last year with this heat racing format, we saw both the drivers who started at the front in these heats go on to take home the checkered flag. We'll see if the 25-lap format is enough for anybody else to mix it up and maybe challenge on that top step of the podium. And again, we talked you through tonight's program. Let's get a little bit more specific now, Kenneth, and take a look at the Coca-Cola race program, starting here with heat race number 1.
Yeah, so again, this is deciding the inside line for the feature. So basically, whoever wins this race in the heat will be the pole sitter for the main feature race later on tonight. So it puts a little pressure on those on the front row right now. We have 25 laps on tap, just a little under 18 miles here from Richmond Raceway, which means with no cautions, you got to dash your way to the front. And you got to do so in a very big hurry. So drivers at the back of this heat may be a little more aggressive in these opening laps, given how tough it is to pass here at Richmond. We'll see the same on the other end for heat number 2. Tonight, though, will be for heat number 1, the first proper chance at it tonight. And for those in heat 2, Evan, I think they've got some notes to take on what they see in this first one.
Yeah, they're going to be watching, and there are some other takeaways. You're going to learn who's good on the short run. How well that translates to the 70-lap feature a little bit later on remains to be seen, but certainly short run speed, these drivers aren't going to be holding anything back. You want to have the track position when we go at it. Pace car down and in. It is the front row controlled by Jordi Lopez. Green flag in the air. This is heat race number 1. Outside of the racetrack, Mullis actually beat him to the stripe. Here comes Steven Wilson, 3 wide, looking to the center.
And Wilson wasting absolutely no time, and they're going to be right on each other, leaning on each race car out of turn 2. And you can make 3 wide. Some will work at Richmond, but someone will have to back out at least some point. But Wilson will try to bully his way to second place. The Ledford Billiard Supply, number 2, Zach Novak fighting on the inside, and Wilson being aggressive early. It's exactly what I noted in a track that's as hard to pass at as Richmond. There's still 3 abreast. Donovan Strauss in the middle of this group back to turn 3.
Yeah, it's the number 4 car, center of it all. You called him out, Strauss. That 22 Michita Zelensky was also 3 wide. He breaks free. The iRacing drone hovers above at about 140, now 150 miles an hour. Off and into 1, a dive to the inside. That was the 12 Alusa getting underneath the number 95 of Parker White. That battle back for about 8th position, and a big swing move. That was that 29 of Mullis, the treetop machine, high to low, trying to get under the 199 of Duval. Wasn't able to do so, and jumping the start for the number 89 car. Penalty to Jordi Lopez. He is on pit road after starting this race in the number 1 spot. What a huge blow for him, and this is such a short pit lane. I'll be curious to see if he can stay on the lead lap. Field's already coming off at turn number 4. He's still on pit road in turn 1. I think he'll barely get out and stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, but he's got a long road to go through if he wants to get back to the front. And with no cautions in this heat race, I mean, you make one mistake or you're involved in one crash, chances are that's your entire chance at the win, and a good starting spot for the feature done for. So for Lopez, who was in the middle 3 wide several times in the Richmond race last season through these heat events, now all the way at the back 20th, just trying to cling on to the lead lap. But look at Wilson, Evan, already making an impression early, and like everyone was talking about on Countdown to Green, it seems like only the internet has been able to stop the Iowa Hawkeyes so far, but he's in that toe-to-toe battle with Bobby Zelensky, almost a mirror image of what we saw at Interlagos a couple of weeks ago, and Zach Novak in the best place of them all. We usually see the guy up front in the clean air, rotate the car much better through this Richmond Raceway. So Novak taking ample chances and the opportunity that's given to him as everyone fights behind the top 10.
You're not surprised to see Zach doing good. A racetrack that used to be the home for the Richmond Raceway Esports Group when he drove with that team. So no shock that he enjoys being here. Here's the battle back at 8th spot. Nick Ottinger, Parker White, and others doing battle in the midfield. They picked up a spot here, a spot there, but really no big movers in the center of the pack here. White down a spot, Ottinger also picking up 3. He's maybe one of the bigger movers. The Logitech machine there center of the field, but too wide up the road. Where do you go? Donovan Strauss, Garrett Lowe, they've been side by side the last few laps. Options are limited for the 25 unless you want to force the issue and go 3 wide. Already working lap number 9 of 25. They are going to go by quick in heat race number 1. And remember, not only starting position for the feature on the line, points to the top 10. So tonight's max points 50 instead of your normal 40.
And think about, Evan, the drivers that are in this specific heat, a very stacked one, so plenty of opportunity for these guys to gain those points to get a little bit of an edge over the others, specifically in the playoff side of things. Here's a look on board with Garrett Lowe, who we had the chance to honor the announcement that he made that he's going to be going Euro NASCAR racing in 2026 with the BS Plus competition group. It is an amazing set of circumstances for Lowe, who has been in that Prodigy Racing League this year, getting a chance to race in real life, and being able to do so more in 2026 will be absolutely impeccable. Right now, though, I think he's more focused on trying to hold off Donovan Strauss, who's another driver who has been racing late models in real life. Plenty of the guys in the middle of this pack, Evan, that have already gone real world racing just by the experience on the sim.
Yeah, not only is it great to see that sim to reality crossover continue, but that paint scheme that he's got right there is the actual paint scheme that he'll be running when he participates in Euro NASCAR a little bit later on this year. So excited to see his continued growth. He's one of many drivers in this series that have announced either current or former real-world racing seats that they've been able to secure. We are seeing more of that amongst this group of drivers than at any other point in history, and that's an aggressive move. He pulls down, basically cleared himself over Strauss. Strauss said no thanks, bumps him out of the way. That battle continues. Meanwhile, up in the battle for P2, David Wilson has been able to maintain it, but Bobby Zelensky not too patient. The Core Power number 22 Chevrolet doing everything he can, and this fight for second has allowed Novak to get away just a little bit up in front for the race lead.
Yeah, while Novak will, right now in this moment, if he wins this heat, he will have the pole position for the feature. I honestly wouldn't envy the spot where I would envy, honestly, the spot that Wilson is in. If he finishes second in this heat, that means he's going to be second on the inside lane, putting him in third when we start off the feature race later tonight. And third place has been a pivotal area of the field when you get to these restarts at Richmond, because as soon as you get a good jump on what the leader is doing in the restart zone, you can be able to fling to the inside and make a move for the top spot. Now he's got to worry about Zelensky to the inside. But the biggest thing we'll note over this first heat and the rest of the night, Evan, are the different lanes and how you have to position this race car at Richmond. The banking shifts from 14 to 8 degrees on that front straightaway, and it gets very shallow at this back straightaway and can kick up the rear tires. So everyone basically on the edge of control when you get on these long runs. You got to put the car in the right place on the inside lane to be able to get a move done as Zelensky stays underneath Wilson. Battle for second continuous.
Yeah, and on the bottom of your screen, battle ongoing as well for what is about 7th and 8th spot there between Dylan Duval and Nick Ottinger. Ottinger had the nose in front of him for the spot at the stripe. He was able to get around the 95 of Parker White a few laps ago and continues to want to pick his way through the field. So that 25 machine has been better than anybody else so far at getting through traffic. One of the bigger movers in the field, and as he continues to inch ahead, making another spot secured for Nick Ottinger. So the 25 now up 4 from the start of this race. Impressive stuff now inside of 10 laps to go in heat race number 1. Novak continues to lead. In fact, you see the intervals on the leaderboard, 0.8 of a second and growing in favor of the 2. And there's a good-looking pair of Vegas Inferno Chevrolets. The number 1 of Malik Ray, the twin of Michael Guest. Looking good right now. P12 and 13 trying to fend off Blaze Crawford, who's on the attack in the cookout number 3.
Yeah, but Evan, they haven't made that much progression. They've started in the mid-pack of this heat race, and they've remained mostly there. It's just a testament to how tough it is to pass here at Richmond. And they've sort of let 11th place Connor Euroshak through with a decent gap and some elbow room back to Ray as Crawford looks on the inside of Michael Guest for 13th. But again, every single position matters. And, you know, we talk about track position in many races across this calendar with this next-gen car. The dirty air that you can deal and just with the way these cars handle, it can be very tough to get around your competition. So here at Richmond specifically, where we may see a lot of yellows and we may see halts in the action, you want to be in the right place at the right time. And for all these guys, majority at the back of this field in the heat, they may have some lessons that need to be learned when they get to the feature race. I'm going to try to be a little more aggressive through and through because, you know, if you're beneath the top 10, you're looking at a starting spot, maybe 15th on back, and in the thick of it through the field, Evan, we've seen the most chaos.
Yeah, it's not a spot you want to be in. And again, just continue to be impressed with how well Ottinger is. I mean, he drove away from those cars and left the battle for White and Duval behind him. Battle for second, still ongoing. Zelensky on the inside of the racetrack, but that seems to be by design from Steven Wilson. He has made really no attempts at trying to block the 22 from going to the bottom. He seems to appreciate that higher lane, especially down in 3 and 4, to get the run off the corner. That 22 is Zelensky has gotten under him a couple of times now, but just can't really do anything with it. Now maybe a bit of a role reversal now. The 22, a little bit of a higher entry. He'll try to swing it down off the corner, straight through the middle of the entire 3 and 4 with Steven Wilson that time. 2 laps to go, limited opportunities to get the job done. Zach Novak up front looking to lock this thing down. That gap has shrunk a little bit. It peaked at about 9/10 of a second, down to 5/10 now. But this may be just some tire conservation for Novak to get comfortably to the end. White flag, one more lap in Heat Race 1.
Yeah, Novak has been the class of this heat, but that's what we've seen in Richmond history the last several years. If you're up front, chances are you're going to stay there. So Novak laying off the gas pedal a little bit to Wilson, but Evan, he's taking care of business. He's going to be on the front row for the feature later tonight.
He'll go on to lead some 23 of the 25 laps after starting third on the grid. Checkered flag, heat race number 1 goes to the number 2 of Zach Novak, and that will secure him the pole position for the 70-lap feature race later on tonight. Wilson, Zelensky, Mullis, and Lowe, the drivers who come home inside of the top 5. As you take a look at those results, there's a pair of those Atlassian Williams sim racing cars in the mix as well. Donovan Strauss, P6, Parker White, P8. Nick Ottinger, 7th in the mix there. Dylan Duval comes home 9th, and Ryan Loser rounds out the top 10.
And then through 11th on back, mostly unchanged. Connor Yuroshak, the rookie, in 11th. Malik Ray, Michael Guest, the Vegas Inferno teammates, 12th, 13th. Crawford tried to get to 13th, but now gets 14th. Russell was at the back of the heat, moved up 5 spots. McCandless in 16th. But you look all the way down the order, the final car in 20th place, Jordi Lopez, started up front in the heat and then got dealt with that penalty at the start of the race. He has to deal with the biggest blow so far tonight, and we'll be starting way back in the feature race later this evening.
Let's talk with your race winner. He's got pole position secured for the main event. Heat race number 1 goes to Zach Novak. Kenneth is with him.
Well, Zach, a completed heat and a completed heat win. You're going to be on the front row leading the field to the feature later on tonight. How much confidence does this first heat give you now that you're in the clean air and in control when we take the green later on?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very good. I was a bit free there at the end, but I didn't want to try and experiment with lines too much just because I knew they were kind of going to do that for me. And, you know, I just wanted to kind of take my time and be patient with it and get it to the end. So, yeah, just huge for our whole Ledford Billiard Supply number 2 team to put it on pole. Yeah, it's just huge, and hopefully we can close it out.
Trying to be the faster Ledford Billiard Supply car this evening. I know you and Briar have the same sponsor, but Zach, congratulations on the heat win, and best of luck as we move on to the feature.
Well, that's your race winner. Let's take one more look again at the Coca-Cola race program. If you're just joining us, heat race number 1 in the books. Kenneth, we re-rack it, do it all again. Heat race number 2 with all of the odd-numbered qualifiers. We're in heat race number 1. Now let's introduce you to everybody who qualified in an even-numbered spot. So second best time in queue overall means pole position for the Kadani Sports number 11 of Vicente Salas. He will bring us to the green on the front row. It'll be next to the William Byron Esports 97 of Tucker Minter. Row number 2, we'll see the Latardi Sports 36 of Kwame Scott and the Spire Motorsports number 7 of Femi Olatunbosin. And back on row 3, it is the second of those Austin Dillon chartered cars, the Team Dillon Esports 33 of Taylor Hurst, and to the outside, the E-Racer 42 of Logan Clampett.
Graham Bolin, who has started in the top 10 3 times in his co-career here at Richmond for the Kansas City Pioneers, rolls the 48 inside row 4. Matt Busso for Kevin Harvick Incorporated tonight, making his 14th Richmond start in the 62. He'll be in 8th place. Kansas City Pioneers Chevrolet driver Casey Kerwin will take the 24 car from the inside of row 5. And Colin Keister, the winner from Las Vegas earlier on this season for Jim Beaver Esports, he'll take the 15 car from P10. Hayek Motorsports has Dylan Alt's number 47 rolling off inside row 6. And the other E-Racer car, the 69 of Tyler Gary, going to be in P12 to start Heat 2.
They'll start just ahead of the big dog. It's the RFK Racing number 6, a Colin Bowden to his outside, the 6 Karma 39 of Daniel Falkenham. His teammate, one row back in the inside row number 8 spot. That's going to be the number 19 of Eddie Kerner. To the outside, the Jim Beaver Esports number 5 of Nate Stewart. Brian LaPrade, the Junior Motorsports number 88 machine, final car to take a time at qualifying. So first provisional start on the outside of row 9, the Hayek Motorsports 50 of Quentin Warman.
And then back in row 10, the final two that will have to try and carve their way through the field. Apex Racing's Christopher Hill in his first career Coke Richmond start in the 96, and P20 rounding out this field in heat number 2. The RFK Racing 17, Timmy Holmes going to have to work from shotgun in the field in the second heat.
It's a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. So P2 overall in qualifying means that Vicente Salas has the best opportunity to win heat race number 2. He will start from pole position. Let's bring back in James Pike to get a word with the driver of the number 11 Toyota, who is starting tonight from P1 in this one. James?
He is indeed starting tonight from P1. Vicente Salas, winner here in the Coke Series in 2021. So you know this place better than most. Vicente, how is the way you race at Richmond changed over the past few years?
I mean, the lines changed. The track rubbers in differently than how it did 4 years ago. But I think it still takes the same thing to win, and that's just, having speed, being precise. So we're going to try and capitalize here in Heat 2, put ourselves in position to fight for the win in the feature event here.
One of his favorite tracks in the eNASCAR schedule. No reason as to why Gente can't pick up his second career win here in the Commonwealth.
It was back in that 2021 race here at Richmond where Vicente became the first driver in eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series history to go to victory lane on an oval by leading every single lap in the race. And that one, I think, was 250. He had a good night. One more reminder for your NASCAR Fan Awards members. Again, tonight's member code, Richmond4SJ. Make sure to enter that on your member dashboard. Score yourself 50 points. And again, if you're not already signed up, scan the QR code. Not only are there opportunities to get those Fan Awards points on these eNASCAR broadcasts on Tuesdays, but of course, you can also bank some more points watching the NASCAR broadcasts over the weekend. So Salas is good here. No surprise there. A pretty calm, I'll say, Kenneth, heat race number 1. Curious if you see that again.
Yeah, and with the level of field that we have here in heat number 2, I'd expect some of the same. But what I did notice was the lack of progression through the field. We didn't have a lot of big movers in the group of 20 from the earlier heat. But these guys had the advantage of seeing what happened in Heat 1 and sort of taking notes on what worked, what didn't, and what they can execute here in this second heat. But I want to watch for Vicente Salas, who's at the front of this, and much like Zach Novak controlled the first heat earlier on tonight, probably would not be surprised to see the leader try to control the tempo the same way that Novak did in heat number 1. And Salas hungry. Remember at Interlagos, won the sprint race and got passed by Wilson early in the event, could not catch back up. He's hungry for his first win of 2025. Richmond could be it, and it may start right here with the second heat.
And remember, we saw a penalty to the pole sitter in heat race number 1, so watch for that 11 car. Needs to wait for the restart zone and the green flag to be displayed to fire off. There it is, 25 laps on the board. Heat race number 2 is green. Side by side, challenge for the lead. No 3 wide bout yet. It's going to be the 11 and the 97. There's 3 wide, 4 wide even behind them off the quarter, but clear for the race lead to turn 3 is Salas.
They said no 3 wide. How about we go 4 abreast in turns 1 and 2, and both of the Kansas City Pioneers Chevrolets in the middle of that. Graham Bolin and Casey Kerwin having to get out of that. They're in the back end of this top 10 now. Remember, early on in Heat 1, we saw the aggressive nature of Steven Wilson to shoot up the second place, and maybe some heroics here beneath the top 5, but for the most part, everyone a little more calm through 3 and 4. But I tell you, Tucker Minter is not letting Salas get away with this top spot for now. He's staying within a car length or 2 as the field heads back to turn 1, and a bunch of fights inside the top 10. Alt looking underneath Bolin. That's going to be for 9th place.
Yeah, top three single filed out. They're not safe, though. Midfield, there's plenty of it. Colin Kaiser, one of the drivers in the mix, lost a spot off of the restart. That would have gone in favor of some of the other drivers around him as he dropped back from 10th to 11th spot. Dylan Alt's the one who passed him up. That pass not necessarily solidified. The 47 still dealing with the 48 machine of Graham Boland up at a row and a half up the road. There's the on-board look with Colin Kaister, race winner earlier this year in Las Vegas. He wants to do his part to maybe get another race win in the bank and try to limit the amount of first-time race winners so he can see that Price Chopper Chevrolet racing in the playoffs here in 2025. So that battle for 10th going on about a second and a half off of the leaders. More cars on the bottom than the outside as they get a little bit of space.
And you know, Evan, for most of the field, they have a small sample size. Only one time have they gone heat racing here at Richmond, and it was last year in 2024. Keister had finished 4th in the first heat, which made him start 7th in the race, and he ended up obviously having some bad luck, finished 34th in that race. But he has experience of doing well in the heats and taking notes, doing well in the middle of the pack, but got a lot more work cut out for him. And I'd say the same here goes for Dylan Alt, who made the aggressive pass to the inside on Graham Boland's Chevrolet, and now looking up the road to another side-by-side battle. Logan Clampett, Matt Busa, the KHI Chevrolet, and the E-Racer Toyota on the inside and outside back into turn 1. This may be some of the best racing we see early on in this heat, Evan, but with the way this track handles over the course of a run, you want to make these passes done early so you can settle into a rhythm, and that's what we'll see later on in the feature race if we get a green flag run.
And I know it's not the feature race yet as we see 3 wide. Kerwin looking to the inside. Not a lot of room. That 42 of Clampett gives him absolutely nothing. They'll get together, and it'll give the spot to Busa, which is a good segue. Yes, he still has to take the green in the feature for this to be official, but tonight Matt Busa will pass Michael Conti for 3rd on the series all-time starts list. They're currently tied in the low 200s. So what a career it has been for the driver, that 62 of Matt Busa, and a tip of the hat if we don't get an opportunity to later when we go at it in the actual feature race for a little bit of history courtesy of him. And there's some other drivers that'll be reaching some milestones here in 25. We'll be talking about that as the year goes on. But Busa really got a free spot in all of that as the 24 and the 42 were doing their best to not take each other out. Dylan Alt got a free spot too. That Sunny D47 made the pass. He's up into the number 7 position, which means that Clampett and Kerwin left to battle for 8th and 9th. Further towards the front of the field, there's a look at your top 2. Vicente Salas has got it. Tucker Minter wants it. It's about a 4 or 5 car length gap between the two.
Yeah, I don't know with the Casey Kerwin move to go 3 wide, whether it was worth taking at that juncture of the race because it dropped him 2 spots and now he's just trying to fight for his life inside the top 10 with Logan Clampett. But Minter has been nearly getting there, and you see that lean on the bottom right of her screen. He showed off a lap here at Richmond for his William Byron Esports camp. They posted it on Twitter and socials earlier on this afternoon, and he replied to that tweet saying the lean in at least is worth a 10th or so on the racetrack. He's trying still to catch up to Salas and Femi Olatunbosan. You see him hanging back in 3rd watching the action.
I always wonder when you see the lean, is that every single lap that they're leaning, or is that a little bit of, hey, the car's not rotating and I'm trying to will it through the corner? Or is it like MJ sticking the tongue out, right? Is it just part of the game? We'll see as Tucker's doing a good job in the number 2 spot, but slowly but surely, Vicente Salas has been the better car the last couple of times around. And as we get to the halfway point in heat race number 2, that gap continues to grow. And if he leans any more, he will lean completely out of the frame. So he's got to watch that lean on turn number 4, but he's dialed in, trying to figure anything out that he can. The gap sits at 0.5 of a second, though. Again, that is the biggest the difference has been. Salas seems to be on rails right now. Further back in the field, things are a little bit more up for grabs. This is the battle for 13th position on back. The 6 of Colin Bowden, the BuildSubmarines.com Ford, is outside to the 69 of Tyler Gary. That's the E-Racer Toyota on the bottom, and a bit of a wall tap there, courtesy of the 6 on the exit.
And Bowden's one of those that's had some experience here at Richmond with the next-gen car in 2022. Started 2nd, but Evan ended up finishing back in 21st. It was kind of a rocky night for him over the course of the evening. And then there's Brian LaPrade sitting back here in 15th place for Junior Motorsports. And I alluded to the Ledford Billiard Supply faster car tonight. That's because Zach Novak has the exact same sponsor, and they sort of had a bit of banter, Evan, on Twitter about who would be the best car sponsored by that company over the course of the night. LaPrade, though, has a bit of work to do, but it's almost a impression of what we should see in the feature. These cars kind of handling ill at this point of the run, and with how hot this track surface gets at Richmond, all of those mid-pack battles are going to be compelling to watch.
And a little bit closer to the front, it is the Sunoco machine of Kwame Scott in the number 5 spot. He has slipped back too. Femi Olanton-Boson and Taylor Hurst have been able to get around him since the start of the race, and Kwame's in a bit of a precarious position right now. Only 8 laps to go this time by, but he's got a whole host of drivers lined up trying to take a crack at him. You got Matt Busa, Dylan Alton, Casey Kerwin, all within about 0.3 of a second. That 36 car, I think, going to look for the defensive line to just maintain. Remember, P5 will equate to a 10th on the grid for the feature race. That's not bad. And how about some 3 wide behind them, center of that battle? The 88 of Briar LaPrade. Can he find a way by both of these cars?
And Tyler Gary in a precarious spot that's inside of the racetrack as you're rising out of turn 4. This car lights up the rear tires quickly with the lack of downforce you have on the back end of the machine, and it's even in a harsher transition from the banking off of turn 2. So everyone trying to manage their throttle inputs as they get to the exit of these corners. And LaPrade said, I'm done waiting. I'm going to try and peek through the middle and make this an attempted pass. He beats Gary. Now the crossover splits through the middle and looks to the inside. But Bowden at this point just trying to preserve what he has. That's why he's rolling so high up the racetrack, because you can make some grip happen there, Evan, and when you're up there so much, you get into the throttle a little bit earlier, which means you could play defense much better from those on the inside. So Bowden playing it strategically on LaPrade, who's not seemingly going away right now for 13th.
We saw a similar move in heat race number 1, where some of the drivers who may not have had the late race pace, I think Steven Wilson in particular, Bobby Zelensky was probably quicker than him, but Wilson ran that defensive line on the outside and kind of put the ball into Bobby's court on, hey, if you want to pass me, you're going to have to make it work on the bottom. And you can see there on the exit, that 88 of LaPrade just can't get back to the throttle. And how about a shunt to the 6 car? He just about sent that 6 into the corner pocket with how hard he hit him into turn number 1, and now right back down to the inside. So a sense of urgency for LaPrade. 3 laps to go in the heat race this time by.
That was a slap shot right to Bowden's back bumper, but at some point you got to use it when it's very hard to pass inside these final 3 in the heat. You know exactly where you're going to start now that you've settled into this race through the mid-pack. So why not use the chrome horn a little bit, roughen up the driver in front of you to get them out of line and give you a better position. Obviously not dumping Bowden in turn 1, but being aggressive, racing hard, and now Gary is bullying Bowden off turn 4, hip checks him up the racetrack, and who does that allow to get into the foreground? Eddie Kerner, Christopher Hill, and Quentin Worman. All of this, by the way, Evan, looking for points where Logan Clampett is. For right now, they do not have position to get those points, but any position matters at this juncture when it means starting up front or starting well in the feature.
It's a point per position if you can get inside of the top 10. And remember, every pass is worth 2 starting positions on the grid for the feature. Meanwhile, white flag in the air, and it'll be a no doubt about her for Vicente Salas up front. He's got a knack for leading them all here at Richmond. He'll do it again in heat race number 2. Salas takes the heat win, secures P2 on the grid for the feature. This whole pack spinning to the line. Kerner sideways across the stripe. Good enough in the end for position number 16 for the defending Contender Series champ. But all of those fireworks out of the points, because only these top 10 walk away with some bonus points. Salas checks in 10 bonus points, courtesy of the win, and it will start again for the outside of the front row. How about Spire Motorsports? Femi Olanton-Boson, 3rd in that one. The Team Dillon Esports, 33 at Taylor Hurst. And the KCP Group, the Pioneers, Kerwin and Bolin, 8 and 9.
And then you look at Logan Clampett, that final driver who gets 1 point, and the battle for 11th on back, well, that got a lot of fun. Colin Keister, Falkingham, and then where the action was really present, LaPrade, Bowden, Gary, Kerner, all from 13th to 16th, and then all these guys at the back just trying to gain track position, but unfortunately could not do so. That's Quentin Worman, Nate Stewart, and Timmy Holmes, who started at the back end of Heat 2, just could not recover, and he stays where he's at in P20.
It may not be pole, but he's going to have the second best seat in the house for the feature. Let's talk with your heat race number 2 winner, Kenneth.
All right, talking to Vicente Salas again. Salas, a dominating Heat 2 effort. You've won here before. How hungry does this Heat 2 win make you for the feature race now that you're starting up front?
here. I would say it more so, makes me understand what I need for this main event. I know what I need to do. I need to do my job here. So just a huge thank you to everybody at Kanan Esports, Miramar Financial, Tony Kanan, just everybody that supports me, Dead Zone Racing. Wouldn't be here without them, and hopefully we can go and get it done here.
Well, you've got a fast car. We'll see how it goes. Congrats on the heat win, and best of luck through the feature, Vicente.
Thank you.
Vicente Salas, winner of heat number 2, Evan. That means an all-Toyota front row for the feature here tonight from Virginia.
He's going to line up next to Zach Novak. The feature race is next from Richmond. You're watching iRacing's coverage of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're going feature racing from Richmond when we come back.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition, embrace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Welcome to more.
Got a great year ahead.
Where the roads don't have limits on how fast you can go.
Big crew, we're going to have to ball out right here.
Or the sights you're going to see.
Oh, we got trouble.
Welcome to new places. Familiar faces.
Wow.
And memories in the making. Welcome to a whole new season of NASCAR.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Cookout. Race through the Cookout drive-thru tonight for a Cookout tray and an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco. Performance is what we do.
We're back live at iRacing's virtual Richmond Raceway. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights. 2 heat races down in the first heat racing night of the season. So cars qualified, single car qualified, and then split them in half, and it all started real aggressive off of the jump at heat race number 1.
Yeah, and that was Steven Wilson looking middle 3 wide. He would end up taking second place. There's Garrett Lowe trying to play defense on Donovan Strauss. Hard fought battles through the mid-pack. One of many instances we've seen of aggressive racing through 10th on back, specifically in the heats. And then the fight for second is Jordi Lopez got the penalty for the jumping of the start. Zach Novak took away the lead, and Evan, that was his control from there on out. Winner of heat number 1, all his rhythm and being able to start on the front row. But everyone in heat 2 took lessons, and they raced just as aggressively in the opening laps.
Yeah, a lot of action in the midfield, and I think this one was more physical than we saw in heat race number 1. A couple of bumpers here and there. Drivers were really learning, I think, from what happened in heat race number 1, as there was an example there of you might have to be physical to make a move. Some 3 wides. That was LaPrade going to the center in that instance, and then making a big swing it down to the inside in a battle for position. But up front, untouched, was that man right there, Vicente Salas, 25 for 25. He leads the distance, takes home the win in heat race number 2, and has secured himself the outside pole for the feature race which is coming up next. So maybe a small teaser, maybe some things that we've learned thus far. Let's revisit our Coca-Cola race program. Only one race left to go on the night.
Well, now, Evan, we had some points dealt out, some starting positions ordered through the heat races. Now it's all time to culminate that together and go racing for a playoff spot. 70 laps in this feature race. This one, for all the marbles, going to be awarded points similarly to how we do for the rest of the races this season. And the winner will get that advanced check mark into the playoffs for 2025. So keep that in mind. All these drivers worked hard through the heats to try and put themselves in this position to start well in the feature. And now it's going to be all about how aggressive does it get over 70 laps.
Well, let's go trackside. Introduce you to your starting grid for the feature race here in Richmond. It is heat race number 1 winner, the Channel 199 Sim Racing number 2 of Zach Novak. I'm sure team boss Travis Pastrana happy to see Novak out in front. He's going to be alongside your heat race number 2 winner. That is the Kanani Sports number 11 of Vicente Salas. Row number 2, it is the 2-time race winner already this season, the Spire Motorsports 77 of Stephen Wilson, lined up next to P4 starter, the William Byron Esports 97 of Tucker Minter. Back on row number 3, it is Jesse Wuji's ERA Esports Teams 22 of Bobby Zelensky next to the second Spire car. They are looking for a good start for that group. That's 7 of Femi Alontabosa in his P6.
And how about a pair of drivers making their 10th career Richmond start in their Coke Series tenure? Jimmy Mullis for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. He's got the 29 inside row 4. And Taylor Hurst for Team Dillon Esports will roll his number 33 Chevrolet from outside in P8. Garrett Lowe for BS Plus Competition in the thick of the battle through the heat races earlier on tonight. His 99 car starts in 9th place. And Kwame Scott, who only has 2 Richmond starts prior to this for Latar Esports, he'll bring the 36 from P10. Donovan Strauss in the number 4 car for Atlassian Williams Sim Racing, the new name and a new number for Strauss this evening. He's going to be on the inside of row 6. At the other end of the KHI camp, Matt Busa in the 62, who tonight, Evan, is making his 14th Richmond start in his career.
Lucky number 13 tonight. And the inside row number 7 goes to the second of the William Byron Esports cars. That's the 25 of Nick Ottinger. To the outside, it is the Hayek Motorsports 47 of Dylan Alt. Then it is the defending champ, the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing 95 of Parker White. And he'll start ahead of a pair of 2 Kansas City Pioneers cars in a row. That one, the 24 of Kerwin. Row number 9, the Channel 199 Sim Racing 199 of Dylan Duvall. And he is lined up next to Kerwin's Pioneers teammate. That is the 48 car, Graham Bolin, P18.
And back to row number 10, you'll find the FGR Excel. Number 12, that's Ryan Luza, 2-time winner here at Richmond, going to try to make it a trifecta. And Logan Clampett for E-Racer, who has a best finish of 5th here back in 2019. We'll try to get a little better than that from the outside in P20. Rookie Connor Euroshak in the 40 car will be for Latar Esports inside row 11. And Colin Keister, the winner at Las Vegas, trying to get win number 2 and match Stephen Wilson's output in 2025 for Jim Beaver Esports. That's going to be in 22nd. Malik Ray in the number 1 for Vegas Inferno rolls off inside row 12 and 23rd. And the 6 Karma Ford Mustang of Daniel Falkingham takes his number 39 from 24th to the green flag.
Back on row 13, inside is the Vegas Inferno 21 of Michael Guest. And to the outside, Brian LaPrade was 3 wide a lot. He may see that more in the midfield. It is the Jada Motorsports 88. Row number 14, it is Austin Dillon's Team Dillon Esports number 3 of Blaze Crawford. And to the outside, the RFK Racing number 6 of Colin Bowden. And on row 15 and through your top 30, inside of that is the Kanani Sports 66 of Alexander Russell. And to the outside, it is the E-Racer 69 of Tyler Gary.
Inside row number 16, this is the back end of the field drivers trying to be aggressive at the green flag drop. Junior Motorsports is Blake McCandless in his first Coke Series Richmond start, with Eddie Kerner, the rookie for 6 Karma in the 19 car, looking to gain some momentum in 2025. Apex Racing has both of their cars inside and outside of row number 17, with Cody Bias's 98 inside, Christopher Hill's number 96 on the outside. Seth the Merchant, a lot of work to do from the inside of row 18 in his number 14 car for FGR Excel. And the rookie Quentin Warman for the Hayek Motorsports Group in the number 50 starts on the outside of the 18th row, 36th.
Row number 19, we'll see the ERA Esports Teams 34 of Michael Cozy Jr. and the Jim Beaver Esports 5 of Nate Stewart. And on the final row of this field, it is Timmy Holmes to the outside. It's the RFK Racing 17, but Jordy Lopez, I think, is the big story headed into this feature. That BS Competition 89 car, fastest in practice, fast fastest in single car qualifying, but it was a penalty for a false start at the beginning of heat race number 1 that made him serve a penalty, sent him to the rear. So you could argue that the fastest driver in this race is starting about P last on that back row. Now, the challenge there is this is not your normal Richmond race. This isn't 200 laps. It's not 250 laps. It's going to be a tall order for him to come back in a 70-lap feature race as we look at our Logitech G race analysis.
Yeah, and Evan, we talked about the heat racing being a dash to the finish. 70 laps is a dash when you're talking about a main feature race. We go a little over 52 miles. Pit road speed limit won't necessarily matter because we may not see stops under green. The drivers have 3 tire sets available, but one thing we will see is no fuel strategy. This race is short enough to the point where tires will matter. When you take them and how you use them will matter big time. 2 or 4 tires slapped on the race car. That will play the biggest role in the course of this race, especially with the yellows we may anticipate.
Season started a little bit more than a month ago at the Daytona International Speedway. Stephen Wilson took home the first win of the season. It was Colin Keister 2 weeks later in Las Vegas. But then Stephen Wilson, who sits at the top of the Coke Series power rankings, got race win number 2 for him, number 2 for Spire Motorsports. Does somebody else add their name to that list? Novak, Salas, both going to be tough competitors on the front row. But Stephen Wilson is so tantalizingly close to them on the inside of row number 2. We are in store for another exciting one. Cautions are on. 70 laps between us, a checkered flag, and maybe another first-time ticket punched into the playoffs. Let's go racing from Richmond. It's trouble already. Spinning behind. Was it the Logitech G machine that got spit out of line? Hurst is one of them. And one more driver off and in the grass. It was indeed trouble. Ottinger's okay, but a yellow flag right off of the jump. What a sloppy start.
Yeah, and everybody backing up there at the beginning of this race. And it all starts on the outside of row 4, the Team Dillon Esports Chevrolet of Taylor Hurst, who at the moment, Evan, has not been able to find a breakthrough here in 2025. 3 finishes beneath the top 20 to start off the year. And tonight may be no different. We'll see if we can dial up that secondary look, but it just all stacked up where Taylor Hurst was and then moved its way down the racetrack. So we'll get a better look at it here. It's that silver and red number 33 Chevrolet. It's Taylor Hurst on the outside of row number 4. Actually, the blue and black Chevrolet on the outside of the row with Garrett Lowe. So they'll make their way off turn 4. I'm not sure whether Hurst just didn't get going or whether he missed a shift on the way there, but behind him was Kwame Scott. And then it just moved into Matt Busa, moved into Nick Ottinger, who spun around. And from there, it's just collateral damage, Evan. This track does not have a lot of space to maneuver around, so plenty of the guys stacked up row by row, more often than not, got some piece of the damage in the incident.
One more reminder, if you haven't done it yet, Richmond 4SJ is your NASCAR Fan Rewards member code for today's race. You can enter that on your member dashboard, earn 50 points. And again, if you're not signed up yet, scan the QR code. One thing that changed when you made the move from the Gen 6 cars to these next-gen cars, Kenneth, was no longer that 6-speed or H-pattern shifter. It went to sequential, but that doesn't mean on the sim that you necessarily have to follow that. So it would be hard to go from second to third and accidentally go, down a gear and drop a gear if you were running paddles like you can, if you were running a sequential shifter. Curious if Hurst is one of the drivers who is still using an H-pattern shifter with his sim rig setup. That could lead to something like that, because clearly something went very wrong. I thought at first he got tagged, but that replay showed us, that thing just spit sideways out of nowhere, and the 25 Ottinger was that Logitech car who went down through the grass. He didn't end up hitting anything else. He's currently being scored to an 18th spot, so damage done for him in terms of track position.
And you also think not only the shifting part of the game, but the rear tire part of the game too. This car in the short track package has less downforce than you would see at the bigger 1.5 mile tracks that we'll visit over the course of the year. So it depends on the driver preference what gear they want to start in. But if you start in first or second, specifically in first, those revs are so high to the point where when you hop on the gas pedal, you're anticipating the initial start. The car will just not agree with your inputs, and it'll spill the rear tires around, and all of a sudden you are stacking up in the middle of the field. Either you're slowing down and someone can run you over at that point.
And an update from race control as we get set to get this race back underway is because we did not get a full lap in before the caution flag came out. it'll be a single file restart. So if we see that trend continue, race control will reserve the right to put things single file, and that is the configuration in which we are going to restart this race now. There is some confusion halfway through the field on the backstretch, but your leaders have got it figured out. Single file on the outside wall, green flag back in the air. Let's try this one again.
And with the single file restart format, it gives more of an advantage to the leader. Oh, and Matt Busa is sideways in turn one. They'll catch Garrett Lowe up the road, and the other KHI car of Jimmy Mullis goes for the slide up the banking. And just like the initial start, didn't really take long for the second yellow to fly on lap number 6. Novak had pulled away by a couple car lengths, but as they stacked up, the two KHI Chevrolets got in the midst of that, and Jimmy Mullis getting the worst of it off turn 2.
You would think that the single file would aid in allowing things to go green, but we'll wait for the second look. It basically left a tantalizingly massive opening on the inside of the 7 that Jimmy Mullis went for and didn't work out. So they're up against the wall, right? That's because cars can't pass you to the inside, so you want to protect the top side. That's the restart procedure. And there's a big gap. I mean, I wouldn't say Mullis is in any fashion challenging Famiola and Bosin there, but because you're riding the fence, Ken, at the bottom's just wide open, and it's almost daring somebody to make that move. Jimmy made the move on the 7, and at the same time, it looked like Garrett made the save move on Jimmy, and that was basically two cars just undercutting each other to the bottom. The 29 was the one who got sent sideways. They almost hung on to it, except all the way around with that 29. Well, this isn't the only action going on inside of the world of eNASCAR. There is plenty more happening, and included in that is the ongoing campaign for the 2024-25 eNASCAR College iRacing Series. They had a couple of weeks off, but they're back in full swing for the spring semester, and they were on track just a couple of days ago, in which Parker White took home his 3rd race win of the season, representing the University of Maine at Augusta. They've got one more race left in what we'll call the regular season. It's at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it'll be in the NASCAR Craftsman Series trucks. Say that 3 times fast. The time attack is just open for 2 more days if you want to qualify for that race. And then, Kenneth, look at this. I mean, great action at Iowa last time out. Tuesday, April 1st is the next race you'll be able to catch at Charlotte. And then once that's done, they'll know the drivers that will fight for the winner-take-all finale at Homestead in a couple of weeks. So that season getting down to crunch time. Over the course of the history of that eNASCAR College iRacing Series, more than $193,000 in scholarships have been distributed.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for college students that enjoy iRacing and get a chance to put themselves on a big platform like a broadcasted series on the iRacing platforms, and to try and rep their schools at the same time. I know the one time I covered a college series race, there was an FIU car in there. I was going ballistic as a Panther, putting my paws all the way up in the sky. But commencement fair is nearing for all of those college series drivers as we get to the end of that regular season. And the Iowa race was great, and Charlotte, one of the better intermediate tracks on the calendar. That's going to be a lot of fun.
We've seen them alternating between the Xfinity cars, between the trucks. It'll be fun to see the trucks back in action. And then again, when that is all said and done, we'll see the top 30 or so drivers, I believe, get invited into that winner-take-all championship race. And there's spots in the road to this series on the line. Make sure to catch that one next Tuesday. Second straight time, we're going to go single file restart, this time with 10 laps down at Richmond. Couple of cars looking to the inside. You see that 22 as Zelensky thought about it. At least up front, though, they've got it figured out. Some side-by-side, tail end of the top 10, but up front and clear in the lead. That, too, is Zach Novak.
Yeah, a little less aggressive on this start, just figuring out what was working from, the first 2 mishaps there from the initial start and then that run up to turn 1. And from that incident, you see how wide this front straightaway is, and it narrows up to the first corner. So you got to settle yourselves out in the midst of traffic and find your line and your braking zone as you get into turn 1. And these guys are just getting it settled. And now there's Tucker Minter, who was leaning in his chair in the chase to Vicente Salas' Toyota in heat number 2. Boy, he's loose off turn number 4. Something you don't want to do, Evan, early in this race is light up the rear tires, because with the way we see this strategy go in, based off the Goodyear Eagles and what we see on the shoes of the race car, you want to take care of your rubber early.
If he was leaning, he might have fallen out of the chair with how loose that back end was. off of turn number 4. He stays ahead of this battle, though, for position number 10 on back. That's the 95 of Parker White outside to the 62 of Matt Busa. They're side by side in a battle for 9 and 10. There's the onboard look with them, and I know I mentioned it off at the top, but we'll give him an extra bit of love. Career start number 209 for Matt Busa, now sole possession of 3rd on the all-time series starts list, trailing only 225 for Nick Ottinger and Ray Alfala at 242. So Busa looking for a good night, and after being right in where all of that chaos was on the most recent yellow flag, I think he's pretty happy with where the treetop car's running in the low teens. Single file pretty much throughout the top 15 or so, I'd say. There's some action behind them, you see, but amongst the leaders, they're trying to get some laps in.
Yeah, they're at this point just getting into their rhythm, what they see and what they feel from the wheels of their race cars and the pace considering. But when you merge heat number 1 and heat number 2, you're sort of conglomerating those great battles that we saw at the front from the heat races earlier tonight. Remember how close it was between Novak and Wilson. Wilson back to Zelensky. Now they have to deal with Salas, who was quick in heat number 2. Tucker Minter, who was super fast in the second heat as well. So you're looking at all these guys merging together and having a good time.
We mentioned it was a number change and a new look for the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing team, rebranded for this race. It included a number swap for the number 4 of Donovan Strauss. Of course, Atlassian, the title partner of the Williams F1 team. They've been bringing that title sponsorship on for the 2025 Formula 1 season, and that name change now reflected here on the sim, and there's the second of them, Parker White. By the way, there's something about yellow numbers. Big fan.
Yeah.
Gives you those vintage, I guess, modern day speaking, but back when the Hendrick cars all had those yellow numbers, pretty iconic looking. That's a good looking ride for the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing cars. That's another one that you could try to say 3 times fast, but if you're keeping score, it's now the 4 for Donovan Strauss. He's having a good night right now in the number 7 position. Up the road, that 77 of Steven Wilson has been trying to get around Salas. No changes right now in the top 6. Novak, Salas, Wilson, Minter, Zelensky, and Olatunji Bosun all running in the exact order in which they started this race.
Yeah, they have been all single file. And speaking of yellow numbers, I mean, it takes me back 2016. Jimmy Johnson, when he ran that yellow number for one time that year in the championship finale and won the race, chef's kiss. Absolutely beautiful. So we watch the battles to the mid-pack. But I'm sort of asking these guys in the main 5, or at least the main 10, are you entertained or are you concerned? Because you're not able to make up track position right now. Not entirely sure whether that's from the conservation side of things or whether it's just because they cannot make a pass around each other. But what I will say is, like I've harped on from the first 2 heat races, if you're in the middle of the pack or at least in the top 20 or so, that's where you're going to find the most electric racing for drivers being aggressive for all of these points, and that includes Malik Ray sitting 19th, looking underneath Graham Boland for the 18th spot. Good racing.
You've heard of the yellow number. Shout out Blaze Crawford. We saw that on the roof of his car, but how about the chrome numbers? The Vegas Inferno have been embracing that, and that one machine, Malik Ray, has got chrome on the door of his number 1. His teammate Michael Guest has got chrome gold on the roof, so love all the gold that the Vegas Inferno is bringing to things. Their car's pretty consistent on speed with one another. Malik, you're looking at right now, is up in the number 19 spot. His teammate Guest just 2 spots back in P21. So those are some good-looking Inferno racing cars. A whole lot of spec mapping going on. There's chromes and polished metals, and there's a lot of good-looking cars in this series.
Well, now I'm going to ask you, Evan, are you a fan of bright-colored numbers or chrome numbers?
I think bright numbers. Now, you can kind of meet in the middle, right? Like the chrome gold for 21, I think that can count for both, right? I think, guess the chrome gold, that's a little bit of both, but if we're talking just straight chrome or, straight bright, give me like an eye-popping yellow.
Okay, I see it. So sort of like the Hendrick ones, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
right now.
Or takes you back to when the playoff cars had all the yellow roof numbers, or in our case with the Coke Series, we see the red numbers from time to time. So I like themed numbers.
Yeah, really cool. And you know, from the real NASCAR teams, you know, RFK Racing and Team Trackhouse, they like to use the chrome and the matte. And here's another chrome number up at the front, looking good. The Ledford Billiard Supply number 2 for Zach Novak and Channel 199 Sim Racing. Boy, he's in his own zone right now. Not exactly away from Salas on vacation right now. It's 4/10, so it's still surmountable between those two. But Novak is clearly in cruise control as we enter the halfway portion of this feature, is just enjoying the way this car is handling in the clean air. And if we're talking chrome or neon numbers, I like the chrome, honestly. Give me the chrome side of it. Remember back in 2022 when they did next-gen testing, or 2021 when they were testing the next-gen cars, some teams pulled out chrome numbers and we were going to see, oh, are we going to see it for the season? And we ended up seeing it. That was really awesome stuff. But Novak enjoying the views up front right now.
Novak looking for a return to victory lane. It has been some time, but the now driver of that number 2 Ledford Billiard Supply Toyota Camry. Back here where we were just not that long ago, around the midfield where those Vegas Inferno cars are, it's where the Hornets' nest is. After a bit of a choppy start to this feature, good pace to things up front, almost 30 laps in of 70 on the board, and this midfield has had plenty of action. Matt Boost has been going the wrong direction. His number 62 car down 6 positions to find himself in this mix. Meanwhile, Blaze Crawford lined up behind him. The Cookout Chevrolet up 6 spots. He is on the move forwards. Jimmy Mullis also a little bit further behind them, the second of those treetop cars as we go 3 wide. He's doing his best to bounce back after that contact early in this race, so we'll see if that 29 has the pace to get back up front after he started in P7, but right now is back in the mid-20s. That 62, though, his teammate Matt Busa can't get a break right now. 2 cars to the inside. He's doing a good job of trying to fight him off, but if I had to pick a lane in 3 wide, it wouldn't be that top. He'll lose 2 spots in that corner alone.
Yeah, and Busa's choice of the very high side in 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4 is creating this situation of going 3 wide. He's going up high to evade the dirty air and to try to get a little more grip on the race car through the corner to get some rotation, but at the bottom end of it, everyone's on the bottom because that's the most dominant line here at Richmond, so you will see 2 and 3 wide because everyone's just moving on through. And you were getting a good look at the other Kanani Esports Toyota. That's Alexander Russell, the rookie, who only has a best finish of 15th at the World Center of Racing to kick off 2025, but already some solid progression here in this race from his heat where he started dead last and moved up to 15th. Now from 29th, he's already up to 22nd, so solid move up through the field for the rookie in Russell.
Yeah, Russell, one of 8 rookies in the field here this season. Good to see a resurgence of the rookie class, if you will, with a pretty healthy number after we only had 4 true rookies compete in the series last season. That was well below average, but the rookies through the Contender Series are back up and in the mix. And up front now, trouble with that group back there. Bit of contact near the treetop cars. I think it was the 66 of Russell who we were just talking about, who got sideways. He's going to give it back going. And now stuck in 3 wide. That's the number 6 car, middle of it all, Colin Bowden to the inside. First time we've really talked about Blake McCandless tonight in that C4 Energy Chevrolet for Jeter Motorsports. He's up a few after starting in the 30s, but they are not leaving each other much wiggle room in this battle. Back here in traffic, and McCandless bails out, gets a bit of the 6 car. Bowden able to reel it back in.
And they're roughing each other up at the back end of this pack. And it all started from faint 4 wide, Evan, that we saw in 1 and 2. And boy, those KHI Chevrolets cannot get around the chaos this evening. They've been involved in some of the contact throughout the middle portion of this run. And McCandless in probably one of the best paint schemes in the series field right now with the C4 Energy on a Chevrolet. He's going to hit check the 6 car up the racetrack, and Russell's going to make it outside 3 wide. It's further up the road. Tyler Gary and company trying to settle 3 wide in the mid-pack. This is where things are getting the most compelling for a ton of the guys, Evan, who have sort of struggled for the most part at the beginning of this 2025 season, looking for an opening. And another piece of contact. Boy, Bowden is getting nearly turned in turn 3 again by McCandless entering the corner.
And Tyler Gary is doing his best to stay ahead of all of that. That's the chaos behind him. By the way, if you're curious, the flavor of the day for Blake McCandless is strawberry watermelon ice. I always like to see what flavor he's representing on the C4 Energy machine. There is a lot going on. We talked about sprint points and heat points tonight. Well, the other part of that is the segment points. The first 5 races of the season make up segment number 1, and the highest point scorer within this segment will score not only playoff bonus points, which will be critical as we look to the postseason, but that's also a $3,000 check coming at you. And as they run right now, Your segment points leader is the number 2 of Zach Novak, aided by the fact that he's running real good right now up in front. Again, you might wonder how on earth is it not Steven Wilson? Well, remember that DNF with the connection problems in Vegas is what has hurt him in that one. But $3,000 and 5 playoff bonus points on the line. I think that's going to be a major talking point when we head to Rockingham in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and when you look at the 5 playoff bonus points, it's almost equal to getting a race win, basically. So if you're able to get those playoff bonus points, you can leapfrog some other drivers once the playoff comes, even if they have more wins than you do over the course of the calendar. So each of these segments means a ton, and when you get a $3,000 check to go along with it, I think that gives you a little more incentive to do as well as you can in these segmented races. But you have Richmond tonight, Rockingham in a couple of weeks, 2 very testful racetracks on the short track side of things that will really bring out the best and maybe the worst of the battles through the field and what the drivers experience. But watch all this, Evan. In the top 4, all of them now covered by half a second. They've been moving up and experimenting with the different lanes, all while Novak is leading. He looks in the rearview mirror and he's seeing a bit more of the Toyota Camry and Vicente Salas as they approach lap traffic.
And now you can see the difference on entry. That 97 Min are way lower into the corner, whereas the 11 and the 77 taking their time reaching the apex. Same thing here. Look at the 97 looking underneath. Minter to the quarter panel of Wilson. Now the flip side of that is you throw it in aggressively on the bottom, you're not going to be able to get the speed off the corner, and that's where things flip back to the opposite favor right here. Nose to nose. 97 drives it in. Benefit to the outside on exit. Rinse, wash, repeat. Going to be difficult for Minter to make a pass if that 77 is comfortable on the outside and he is basically giving the 97 the bottom. He doesn't feel like, I think, Minter's a threat on the bottom because he's able to carry his speed so good on the outside. There are only 27 laps to go in this feature race at Richmond. Again, it is going to go by quick once we've got this green flag pace. Donovan Strauss deserves a tip of the cap. He just made a move on Femi Olatunbosin. You saw on the leaderboard for P6. He's up 5 spots. Parker White's up 6. He just made a move for the number 9 position. So for the lack of movement in the top 5, a lot going on behind them. But everybody's still trying to chase down Zach Novak, who has been perfect thus far. And maybe Steven Wilson feels like if I have a car to challenge for the win, I'm going to make a move now. He has been getting progressively more aggressive for that 11 car of Salas in the battle for P2. And just as we take a look back to shout out the Apex Racing Team's cars, they just about took each other out off of turn 2.
Yeah, getting aggressive here beneath the top 30. Both of them just trying to scrap for what they can get. That's around Michael Cozy Jr., around Matt Busa. And now Steven Wilson finally elects the inside. I was just going to bring up the fact, Evan, that we saw Wilson get to the back bumper of Salas and give him a touch every now and then off of turn 2 and off turn 4, but he never elected the bottom because I think he believes that if he goes down low and Salas maintains the pressure up top, it's only going to give the benefit to the William Byron Esports Chevrolet of Tucker Minter to make a move. And now that they're too wide, they're banging off each other down the back straightaway. Wilson trying to get every bit of inches that he can down the inside. Salas maintaining up top, and Tucker Minter deciding, what do I do here? He'll fling his Chevrolet to the inside, maybe underneath Wilson in turn 1 for some pressure. And Bobby Zelensky hanging in the top 5 saying, oh, this is getting good. I'm going to get a piece of this as well.
Worth noting, Wilson did apologize to Salas over the radio for that one, but damage done and kind of mission accomplished because the 77 is through. And I kind of thought out loud a few laps ago, if, is Wilson the faster car? Does he need to get going? Well, he is starting to pull a bit of a gap on the 11 in P2 now. So now the battle's for third. The 97 Machine Minter on the bottom, the 11 of Salas on the outside. All of that contact did bring Bobby Zelensky back into the conversation. That 22 is really a non-factor there for a little bit. He now watches on from the number 5 position, trying his best to get into the mix as well. Jumping back to the battle for what is 26th or so on back. There was a whole lot going on in the midfield. Battle for the top 5 on the top of your screen. Battle back here in the midfield on the bottom. Everywhere you look at Richmond, somebody's trying to make a move. And this is what those heat races could not show us, Kenneth, and that is tire wear and sample size. We didn't know what these cars would handle like 50 laps in. Track position has been important. Passes have been hard to come by, but this racetrack is really opening up now.
Yeah, and all the lanes are being of use here. Earlier in the race, we saw the inside be the preferred groove, but now it looks like it's more so the middle or the outside. As the bottom near that yellow line starts to get rubbered in a bit, it continues to get slicker and slicker. And one interesting thing that we haven't seen, Evan, are the disruptions of rhythm to enable drivers to get fresh tires on pit road. Everyone knows that if you come down pit road, you're going to go multiple laps down. You're going to lose all your track position in a 70-lap race where you don't need to pit for fuel. So everyone dealing with ill-handling race cars in the longest portion of this run, and that's what's creating some of the better racing, some of the different lanes of option. And then this battle here for third, Zelensky looking underneath Minter, who tank slaps the outside wall, and Salas, who is playing a bit of damage control back there in P5, while Wilson hounds on the rear bumper of the Toyota in front of him. We may have the first battle for the lead with 18 laps to go.
He is there. Steven Wilson, after disposing of Minter in the battle for second spot, has been able to reel in and evaporate the race lead that Novak had to the inside. First challenge for the race lead so far in this feature. The 77, a nose in front, but pinched on the bottom. Is he going to be able to carry that speed through on exit? Advantage Novak slightly as they go back into the corner once more. Wilson doing a better job than most, though, at making it stick center off. Advantage to the two, but how long can Zach Novak hang on? Steven Wilson clean on the bottom, but not leaving much margin for error. Now he's almost all the way clear in the battle for the race lead. Can he get him in the run down to turn number 3? Yes, he does. And at the end of lap number 55, new race leader is Steven Wilson.
And in that moment, Evan, I was thinking, if you're Steven Wilson, you're probably wanting to get this battle for the lead done and done quickly, because the last thing you want is to have Bobby Zelensky, Tucker Minter, and Vicente Salas on your tail, making it a full 5-car battle within 2 or 3 tenths of a second. So Wilson getting the move completed means he's putting Novak in dirty air for the first time all night long, and now he's got the clean air to play with. Boy, Wilson has been on fire since the start of this season after taking the win at Daytona. And if it probably wasn't for that disconnection issue at Las Vegas, we may be talking about Wilson being the segment leader. But with this boost, entering 14, now 13 laps to go, Evan, Novak is in a pretty pressure-filled situation to get back, get better salidas to Wilson, and get a look at the lead again.
And look at the live segment 1 points. Despite the disaster in Vegas with the connection problem that took him out of that race, he is still now made his way all the way to the top of the segment points. And that's basically by having a drop race without the drop getting removed from your points. That is how good Steven Wilson has been here in 2025. On board with Zelensky. He was relegated back in the number 5 spot for much of this one. Pretty quiet. And now in the long run, maybe saved a little bit more than others. Made his way to P3, setting his sights on second. We'll keep an eye on that battle. Meanwhile, mid-pack, how about some more 3 wide? They are still going at it at every inch of this racetrack. This battle all the way back in the low 30s.
And this is where Michael Cozy Jr. is at the front end of this pack. Hasn't been a successful night here at Richmond for the ERA Esports Chevrolet. And at this pace, if it stays this way, he will match his worst finish of the season of 23rd, which he got at Daytona to kick off the year. It's been a solid start for Cozy, but now in the fight with all of these guys in DeMerchant, Russell, and even a bit of Blake McCandless all the way back to 26. But even then, in the top 5, still things going around. Salas having the quicker car all day long through second place. Now has to fight here for 4th with Tucker Minter. Hard-fought battle as they're letting the top 3 get away. And at this point, just fight for the points. With 10 laps to go, there may not be enough time if the yellow doesn't fly.
It's a bit of a look back at what we saw in the battle for heat race number 2, in which Salas had it for the entirety and Minter was just not able to get to him on the long run. He has flipped that script. Back here again, still 3 wide. It's ongoing with the 25 Avantinger spinner. It's the 42. Clamp it around, and a yellow flag with 9 laps to go in the feature. And Steven Wilson, it's tough to say that he's facing adversity for how well his season has gone, but it could not be that easy, because we are going to have at least 1 more restart, and we're going to group them back up.
So the commentator's curse, I'm guessing it's still alive. I brought up the yellow flag, and all of a sudden it comes out with Logan Clampett. This is around the area of Nate Stewart. This is back in 34th-ish place. Right behind it all starts, and Stewart I think just gets a piece of Clampett there in the quarter panel off the final corner. And Clampett right before that had been slightly loose, saving the race car in minimal increments, and then he goes around for the spin.
So obviously these drivers, 60 plus laps on the tires, they are headed to pit road. It looks like everybody down, maybe with the exception of Blake McCandless and Timothy Holmes. You see a couple of cars circling around to the pace car. What do the leaders do? Wilson, the first car in, but he does not have the #1 pit stall. Does that affect him on the race off of pit road? They can add fuel if they want to based on their balance. It's going to be a 2-tire decision, and the race off of pit road in favor of Wilson. So Wilson wins the race off pit road. That's going to put him third for the restart behind the 2 drivers who stayed out. Blake McCandless and Timothy Holmes will forego the pit service. And oh boy, we've seen this story once or twice. This is a big gamble, mainly at the expense of the rest of the field, to try to get some points here for a couple of cars who were not in a contending position. Before this yellow flag, Timothy Holmes was scored back in the 36th position. Blake McCandless in P26. This is a big swing.
And it's a double-edged sword because you're thinking this isn't going to work if it goes green past turn 2. But you got to think, what if they don't go past turn 2? How many cautions will we get after this that the leaders staying out are anticipating? Because if it comes down to a green-white checkered, all you need is a pretty good restart and enough forward momentum to stay ahead of all those fresh tire cars behind you and then go at it for the win. So I don't fault McCandless or Holmes for making this call, but I mean, you got to think, if it doesn't go right, if things end up going awry and the fresh tire cars start moving around, you got to survive, because you may be 3 middle, you may be in the middle of 4 or outside of 4 wide, potentially, like we've seen earlier on in this race. So you have to hold on for what may be the worst that you'll have to brace for. But these 2 tire calls for everyone else, obviously to gain track position, may be too overwhelming as long as we don't get overtime.
It's not a wide racetrack, but it's going to get really interesting. Again, McCandless and Holmes out there on different tires, mind you. Holmes has pitted at one point in this race. His tires are 57 laps old. Blake has not. They are 65 laps old. So there are cars on really old tires on the front row. 2 tires for basically everybody else on back, and a restart coming at you with 4 laps to go in Richmond. It's the 8 car who leads us to it. Green flag back in the air for McCandless. Here comes Wilson looking to the inside, wasting no time. Wilson back to the race lead.
And McCandless got punted out of the way. Zach Novak was inside, and they're outside 4 wide now, maybe 5, going into turn 3. Everyone's using up all the real estate with 3 laps to go at the stripe. Wilson is up by at least 2 or 3 car lengths, and McCandless is getting swallowed by the field on the old tires. More 4 wide at the back entering turn 1.
McCandless doing his best to hold that 8 car high, but to your point, it's made some 3 and 4 wide scenarios up front. How about 3 wide with the cars on fresh tires? A lot of pushing in the middle of the field. Up top, you see Wilson, the leader, ahead of a battle for second. Give that to the advantage of the 2 of Zach Novak. They will not get around to the white flag, though. Caution behind. The 36 car of Kwame Scott is into the outside wall, and it would not be a trip to Richmond or a short track Tuesday night without the words eNASCAR overtime.
Yep, you said it right. And as soon as we got that caution flag, it took out many drivers on the outside and inside of the exit in turn 4. We'll get a better look at it. And Wilson had escaped everyone else. Novak and Zelensky had been fighting hard for second place. Wilson nearly had the win in hand should that race have stayed green. But it starts with the Latar Esports 36. That's Kwame Scott, the outside car that approaches Timothy Holmes, who again on the old tires staying out, ends up outside of 4 wide. There's Michael Guest and Tyler Gary, and as they move up the racetrack, I don't know, Evan, if they were fully expecting 4 wide, but by the time they got there, they were giving Holmes absolutely no room between the inside race car and the outside safer barrier. So obviously you're going to get a stack up there. Holmes gets into the quarter panel of Scott, sends him spinning, and then Seth the Merchant, who was the second car in line, ends up getting turned to the outside wall. Quentin Warman and Holmes go for some more spinning down into turn 1, and with overtime on the book, 7, we're going to have probably a little while to go until we decide the winner of this race.
McCandless and Holmes to pit road. That strategy was a swing and a miss. They'll come down for service and maybe try to pick something up here on the backside of this one. And let's take a look, to your point, about those eNASCAR overtime procedures for a green-white checker finish. We will have a maximum of 3 attempts to finish this race under green. If we take the white flag, we will race back to the checker. There is no yellow down the back straightaway. Does it stay green? Does it not? We're going green no matter what to the checkered if the white flies. If a yellow comes out before that, we'll slow down, re-rack, and try it again. And again, we will do that a maximum of 3 times. And for as bad as that could have gone for Steven Wilson, that worked out pretty good for him. Went to the bottom, and he was home free. Novak, Zelensky, they were fighting for P2. Now it's got to be gloves up again for the 77.
And it was the aggression that worked, just like it did in the heat races earlier on tonight, where Wilson said, you know what, I'm going to go for the inside move in turn 1, whether the competition likes it or not. And with the old tire pack right in front of him with 2 cars, it was a relatively easy move. But remember, the segment does not end tonight. We've got another short track race to pick up with, and it's Rockingham. First time in the series that we go to that racetrack in Rockingham, North Carolina. That is going to be a ton of great action and maybe some level of chaos like we've seen tonight at Richmond, but I'm excited for the long runs and how the tire wear will situate itself in that race, because multi-groove racing there at Richmond, or Rockingham rather, and the high speed intensity could make for a great segment 1 finish.
If you're a fan of this kind of racing, or for the drivers who feel like this type of racing is their strong suit, it's a good part of the year with 2 short tracks back-to-back at Richmond and Rockingham. You get a little bit of that later this year if you want to count Iowa and Dover in those, but not quite as short as these 2 tracks are. So do we see the Wilsons, the Novaks, the Zelenskys, the cars that have having a good night here? Does that translate to speed at the Rock? We'll be there in 2 weeks' time. It'll be attempt number 1 at eNASCAR overtime. Remember, you have to get back to the white for this race to be official. Wilson, the control car, to the outside. Novak, the challenger. Steven Wilson looking for race win number 3. Green flag in the air. It is an absolutely stellar start. He's gone to the 2 to 3 car lengths.
And Tucker Minter through the middle may have gotten the bumper of Zach Novak, barely there, entering turns 1 and 2. And now on the outside is Salas. They're stacking up. Femi Olatunbosin gets spun, and so does Casey Kerwin to the outside of the racetrack. They'll catch Tucker Minter and Garrett Lowe. And there is Casey Kerwin's night for a top 10, potentially done and dusted after a strong car gets turned there off of turn 2 to the back straightaway. And we're going to do overtime all over again.
It's a tough break for Casey there, and that wreck kind of felt like it happened in slow motion. That's the tricky part with not knowing if they're going to catch it or not, right? If that 97 is, more clearly wrecked, then Casey probably checks up. But they were doing their best to hang on to it, Kenneth, that if you're the 24, if they're not wrecking in front of you, you got to try to drive through it. You'd hate to back that down, and then they don't actually wreck. You throw away a bunch of spots. So he goes to where there was an opening, and I think the replay will show us he just kind of got hip-checked inadvertently by Parker White, who had to move down to avoid the wreck in front of him. And again, nothing the 24 did wrong. He didn't run anybody over. He held his line, tried to stay low, but for as slow as that developed, it ended very quickly. Watch it up front develop, and then the 24 is the one who spins.
Yeah, it's all cause and effect here. As they're 3 wide, Olatunbosin gets a piece of Tucker Minter, who then goes up into Salas. And as Casey Kerwin is splitting the middle of 4 wide, in that split second, Parker White makes the move underneath because he sees Minter and Salas slowing down from the contact. And from there, it's minimal touching between the back end of Parker White Chevrolet and the front end of Kerwin Chevrolet. So it sends Kerwin around for the slide. Garrett Lowe gets a touch of it entering turn 3, saves it up the banking, and so does Minter. But there's nowhere for Kerwin to go. He's just mid-spin up the banking. And Colin Keister, I think, might have gotten turned around late in the aftermath of that crash.
We talked about some of the exciting things going on around the world of eNASCAR, and included in that is the College Series Paint Contest. You can win not only $500 in iRacing credits, but an exclusive iRacing swag bag by entering. Scan the QR code and get started today. There's a couple of rules to participate. You must use the provided template. The school logo must be the largest logo on the hood, and no numbers, driver names on the sides. When we go racing later this year for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series Championship race, the top entries will be showcased and the winner will be revealed. Remember, 2 more days if you want to race in the last regular season race of that one for the trucks at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That main event coming at you in a week's time right here next Tuesday.
And Evan, this is in the midst of March Madness, so why not get into the college flair on the iRacing side of things as the drivers go to Charlotte Motor Speedway with the trucks. That's a great combo to drive with how good of a track Charlotte is and how close the Truck Series machines race against each other. So as we step in overtime for the second time tonight and that College Series race, really excited to see what happens in the next couple weeks with that.
Well, they say the sequel can't top the original, but the 77 Wilson is really hoping it does. He had a perfect restart the last time. Can he replicate it for attempt number 2 at eNASCAR overtime? This time, Zelensky to his outside, still no match. Another good jump for the 77. Wilson leads to 1, side by side, P2 behind him.
And once again, it's that outside of row 1 that gets the worst end of the stick for second place and third on back as they're 3 wide, multiple rows deep off turn 2. Wilson finally, maybe, will see the white flag and confirm this race official, but Zach Novak slides to second underneath Zelensky.
White flag in the air. This race is official. Trouble for P3. Zelensky gets turned. He's into the outside wall. Big slide. One other car involved. No yellow will stay green. And up front, Steven Wilson continuing the strongest start to a year we have ever seen. How about 3 for 4? Wilson wins at Richmond. Late drama, crashing inside of the top 5, and you see the reaction from Steven Wilson. Winner in Daytona, winner at Interlagos, and winner at Richmond. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And Steven Wilson is hotter than any driver has been to start a season in series history. Incredible stuff as the 77 has got another one, leading 23 laps en route to the race win here at Richmond.
You know, I've been thinking back to the championship finale last season that Wilson had been in control of for most of the event until those final laps where Parker White sent it 3 wide to the inside of the racetrack. I think ever since, Wilson has been on a vengeance tour, and he's lighting up the field in these first 4 races to win 3 of them already. Now going back-to-back at Richmond, the 3rd driver ever to go back-to-back here at this very speedway. It just shows you that Wilson is not here to play around, and every single Coke Series race is big-time business. 3 wins for Wilson and an unbelievable job to the finish.
It is his 12th career race win. It is the 2nd time in his career that he has won now 3 or more races in a single season. It's the 3rd season that he has hit that benchmark. Incredible stuff for the GGT Energy Solutions Incorporated, number 77 Chevrolet. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race. And of course, Steven Wilson did not dominate this one, at least 23 laps. Zach Novak had led 54 at the earlier point, but it was the long green flag run that put him in position to be up front. And then just when you thought it could have all been taken away, he didn't falter. 3 perfect restarts, Kenneth, to secure it, including this final one.
Yeah, that move on Novak was the origin story of the success at the end of this race. And when you are the leader on an overtime restart, you have the command of the rest of this field. So he launches off the restart zone beautifully, gets enough of a gap back to Novak and to Zelensky to the point where they start battling for second and theoretically slowing each other down. And at that point, it's just prayers up, hoping that you see the white flag in enough time after or before the yellow flag comes out for another overtime attempt. But it stays green, and Wilson at this point just maintains control. He has enough distance to Novak to where he doesn't need to play defense on a lunging move in turn 3, and that's all she wrote for Wilson to get his 3rd win of the 2025 season.
It's incredible stuff. Again, the chaos late is going to take some good points away from some drivers who deserved better than that tonight. It's an unfortunate end for the drivers involved in that one. Again, no yellow on the white flag lap, so many of them had to limp their way back around. But there has never been a driver in series history to win 3 of the first 4 races. And as we head to the Sunoco post-race report, I'll hand things off to you, Kenneth, as we get a word with him once again.
In Richmond victory lane for the second time in his career, we're joined now by Steven Wilson. And Steven, you commanded the heat races. You were being all around to the top three. You make the move on Novak for the lead, and you never look back. 3 wins over the first 4 in 2025. What message is Steven Wilson sending to the field right now with these performances?
Yeah, I guess we're just dominating so far. It's a lot of fun when you're winning and fast, and we had a long green flag run here, which I did not expect, and then obviously a lot of passing, so I was able to pass Vicente and Novak there in that long run, which is cool. Moving to all sorts of different lanes, which is when iRacing is at its best. It's when racing is at its best. It's just so much fun. Of course, we have the late yellow that leads to a bunch of junk, but yeah, the heat race was interesting. I made the move 3 wide, and then Jordy got a black flag for, I think he went too early on the start there. So I was racing Novak for the lead, couldn't get it, but yeah, once that top came in, I just moved up and I had so much grip and just long run. I was saving for a good 20 laps probably in the future, but yeah, I was just able to move up and start driving it, and I had a lot more rear grip than Novak and Vicente. So I'm happy for the boys at Spire, everybody, Team Chevy, GGT. Yeah, it's awesome to be 3 for 4, but hopefully we keep going.
The car was on rails at the tail end of this race, and it's win number 3 in 2025. Congrats on the win, Steven, and we'll see you guys at Rockingham in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Go Hawk.
And now we'll turn to Zach Novak, who comes home in second place. And Zach, a really strong car all night long. You get your best finish of the 2025 season to date. What does it feel like now getting second tonight? And what does it lead to momentum-wise as you guys move forward?
Well, being honest with you, second sucks, man. I really hate it. But with that said, I'm super happy with the pace we had tonight. Just struggled a little bit on the long runs. We didn't really expect a long run to come like that, so that's just on us for prep, and we got to be better with that. So otherwise, car was great for 30 laps or so. Definitely was the best car out there. I just was trying to be patient and bide my time and make it last as long as I could, which I think I made it last, really as long as I could make it last. It just wasn't quite enough there at the end. I was just really free at the end of the long run, that is. So, yeah, just once again, super pleased with the pace, and we've been, hitting on all cylinders here to start the year. So just got to keep it up, and we'll break through eventually.
Well, hey, it's second place tonight, but you're still with a fighting chance for the segment win at Rockingham in a couple weeks. So that's definitely good news. Zach, congratulations on the second here at Richmond, and best of luck as we head on to the Rock in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Steven Wilson, the race winner. Zach Novak in second place to close off this 80 lapper from Richmond Raceway in 2 attempts at overtime.
Well, let's take a look at your full race results. And again, Wilson goes to victory lane. Final margin of victory, 3/10 over Zach Novak, who still has a lot to be happy about in this one with a P2 result for the Channel 199 Sim Racing team. Parker White comes home third, Vicente Salas fourth, and how about a night for the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing group? It is a third and a fifth, with Donovan Strauss following up his teammate 2 spots back. Dylan Alt comes home in sixth, with Olot and Boson, Minter, Crawford, and Falkingham the top 10.
Well, look at 11th on back. I mean, it's a brawl. Everyone was crashing there in those final several laps and just trying to get to the finish line before the others. Graham Bolin in 11th, then the Vegas Inferno Malik Raykar in 12th. Look at Eddie Kerner, 13th. I believe his best finish of the 2025 season to date. So a good ending for Kerner there. Clampett, Keister through the top 15. And even guys that were involved in incidents over the course of this race still survived. And that includes Blake McCandless, who was on the other end of strategy, moves up to 19th. Bobby Z getting basically destroyed there, entering the corner in the final laps, ends up in 20th.
Somebody else who somehow benefits in the end was Timothy Holmes, who we saw start this race back in 40th position. He ends up 23rd. It's a good result for him. Christopher Hill, quiet. He benefits from some of the chaos, coming home in 22nd. Drivers who don't benefit: Kwame Scott, Nick Ottinger, 10th and 13th on the grid respectively. They round this page out in 29th and 30th.
And then there's Apex Racing with Cody Bies in 31st. Several of these guys getting caught up in a crash off turn 4 way before the last attempt at overtime. DeMerchant, Lowe, Luza, Kerwin, several of these guys with very strong cars to kick off the feature. Just the chaos ensued, and they were not spared. There's Mullis, Hurst, LaPrade in 39th, and Jordi Lopez. I mean, you think of what if we did not get that penalty in the heat race, how strong he would have been, but he has to deal with the back-end finish of 40th tonight from Richmond.
We need to look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola full race results. And don't worry, we don't have to wait 3 weeks until we do it again. 2 weeks' time for round number 5 of this championship. It'll be the finale for the opening segment, so points and money on the line. But we talk about firsts, and Interlagos stole the headlines early, another first for the international side of things. But how about a first to an iconic NASCAR facility? We head to the Rock. Rockingham is on deck in 2 weeks' time, and I don't know if we can really predict what we'll see at such an iconic facility. Maybe a little bit of like what we saw tonight, expecting some chaos and a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah, but the speeds will be really high in the high-end banking in the corners here, the tire wear, and the multiple grooves that you can use. This may set up to be one of the best races of the year if we continue to see stellar races over 2025. It's been a great season. Rockingham going to add on to the excitement for segment 1.
For extended post-race coverage, you see the countdown on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Stay with us. The press conference is next, where we hear from some of our top finishers. Until then, though, that is it for us here tonight from Richmond. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for Camille Salazar-Hadaway, Alan Cavana, Ryan Vargas, Kenneth Bueno, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to say thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time for round number 5 of the championship on Tuesday, April 8th at iRacing's virtual Rockingham Speedway. That race and every race of the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until then, good night from Richmond, where Steven Wilson is a 3-time race winner already in 2025.
Good evening and welcome to post-race media availability for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at Richmond Raceway. We're now joined by the driver of the number 77 GZT Energy Solutions Chevrolet Camaro Spire Motorsports, tonight's race winner, Stephen Wilson. This is Stephen's 12th career win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, his third of 2025 and his second consecutive win at Richmond Raceway. Stephen, when that late caution came out, was there ever any consideration to staying out, or were you always coming in for tires?
Yeah, no, I was committed to taking tires there. I think we had like 55 lap green there, probably more actually. So I was committed. I don't know where Blake ended up finishing, but he was talking about doing he did the Hocevar at Homestead Strat. I think he was kind of laying back to do that. And he had talked about that. So I knew he was going to do that, but I was committed at that point. We were quite a ways off of where we were running at the start of the run. So I knew I could get him quick. Just had to make sure I did it by turn one in case we kept getting yellows, but we made it far enough on that first one to get him. And we had a really fast piece tonight, long run, short run, didn't seem to matter. We had it hooked up.
We'll now open it up to the floor for questions. As always, if you are watching in chat, especially on enascar.com/live or the Twitch channel, enter your questions in chat for a chance for them to be asked here in the press conference. We start with our media members with Justin.
Hey, Stephen Wilson, this is Justin Malillo from iRacing. I'm going to start off with the obvious question that everybody's wondering. What happened to the beard?
Yeah, I just decided to shave it off. You know, I'm graduating here in a couple months, and I'm honestly just thinking about what I want to look like for the photos. That's the whole reason I did it. I'll be honest, I don't like this, so I'm growing it back as soon as possible. But yeah, I just had to try it out and see what I looked like.
You moved back up to third in the standings after tonight, and you're only 5 points out of it. You're going to Rockingham in 2 weeks. How likely is it that we're going to see you as the Segment 1 champion in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, it would be pretty awesome. You know, when you look at it, you think, oh, I have 3 wins. There's no way I'm not leading. But of course, you know, lagging out, it sucks that Vegas happened because otherwise I'd probably have a points lead of a good amount going into Rockingham. And I don't really know how confident I should be for Rockingham. I've never really done a race there. It's a long one, 200 laps. That'll be probably our longest race of the year by far. So it'll be tough, but we've brought good pieces to all these racetracks with everybody at NFR. So I'm confident that we can do it again. I'm confident that we have the pace throughout a whole run as well. So that'll be nice. And yeah, it'll be nice to, even with that one race not counting, getting 1 point, you know, still being segment champions. That would really speak volumes of how fast we've been.
Seth.
Stephen Wilson, Seth Eggert from Race Face Digital and Motorsports Hotspot. In the post race, you had mentioned in the heat race that Jorge Lopez had gotten that penalty and therefore, you know, wasn't able to start up front, being the fastest in practice and qualifying. Had he been up there, do you think the race would have played out differently?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it would have just been an extra car to pass. I don't really know his speed on the long run. I don't know. I mean, actually, he got whatever happened to him. He was not having a good one in the voice chat. So his night just went horribly after that. But I think it would have been different. Obviously, I probably would have been fighting for third there with Bobby in the heat race to start third row. So it would have just been an extra 2 cars to pass. And honestly, if I was behind Tucker, I don't know if I would have passed him. We were pretty close there for a while until I got Vicente. So I think we had a fast enough piece. We could have probably passed 2 more cars with how long it went green. But yeah, things just kind of fell our way tonight with that. And getting an extra row there and being able to fight off for second that heat race, starting third was definitely good enough to put ourselves in position to have that long run pace and be able to make some moves.
And 80% of Richmond winners have gone on to win the eNASCAR championship. Do you think that bodes well for a second run at the title?
I would say so, except I know I'm one of the 20% from last year. So, yeah, I mean, obviously having 3 wins in the first 4, we have the speed. We'll see what changes are made throughout the year. I mean, I know the car, we're supposed to get an update at some point this year, so that'll change things around. Just have to stay on top of it, have to keep practicing, keep grinding. And I think as long as we keep doing setups like this, I'm pretty confident that I can compete anywhere. And once it comes down to Homestead again, I'm very confident at that track. So feeling good right now, at least, but long way to go.
Steven, question from chat. Real race car when? Question mark?
Yeah, that's might have to get Spire on that, huh? You know, put a 5th truck in the field, or I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite ready to be putting trucks. I don't know if I should do all that talking, but yeah, it'd be cool. If anyone's got an opportunity, I'd do it. You know, I'm moving to Morrisville actually here in a couple months after I graduate. So I'll be in the racing area. I'm not really doing it to drive a real car. I'm kind of just trying to scout my options down there. So yeah, but I'll be down there. So hanging out. So excited for that.
Mr. Novak.
Hello.
You have a question for Steven? I take it.
Oh, my question is, how did you have so much drive off? Like, where did that come from? Were you saving, or?
I was saving a little bit, yeah, but once I moved up, not really. I mean, I was just kind of trying to pass Vicente from every lap I moved up, but I saved for like the first 15 or 20, yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Fair enough.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Steven, before we let you go, thoughts on Ben McCollum as the new head coach of the Hawks?
Love that. I hear he's bringing Bennett Sturts with him as well. That should be exciting. Hopefully we don't suck next year, but yeah, I'm ready for that. Should be fun. Back into men's basketball instead of being only a women's basketball school here recently, so that should be exciting.
Steven, congratulations on your victory. Thanks as always for the time. We'll see you at Rockingham, and go Hawks. As we now turn our attention to the driver of the number 2 Ledford Billiards Supply Toyota Camry for Channel 199 Sim Racing, Zach Novak. Zach, you've got such a history with this place, so is it a little bit more meaningful to get a podium here than it would be at some other places?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously, I may not seem like it, but I'm really pumped, man. I feel very good about just where we're at as a group right now, and you know, cars feel great. I feel great behind the wheel, so obviously, I want to win, right? And that's what everybody wants to do, but you know, just chipping away at the points and putting ourselves in a good spot when it comes down to, you know, Michigan, Indy, you know, those later races in the regular season is really important. So just, you know, we're going to keep chipping away and hopefully we can put it up front every race.
As always, if you got questions in chat for Zach, go ahead and punch them in. We'll see if we can ask them. We'll turn our attention to our audience here in the press conference, and we'll start with Justin once again.
Hey, Zach. Justin Malillo from iRacing. You know, I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm looking at those checks, and I'm thinking I'm seeing the Zach Novak from those years, the 2019 era Zach Novak. Are you feeling that as well?
Maybe to an extent a little bit. I definitely feel a bit rejuvenated, you know, this year, but you know, it's really just a testament to my team and my group behind me. Channel 199 Sim Racing has been just awesome and bringing me on and really, you know, trying to chase some trophies. So them and of course the back end team, you know, can't thank them enough for giving me insanely fast cars. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. So at the end of the day, I definitely feel pretty good, like I said, behind the wheel right now, but you know, it's just a matter of time before the wins come.
Grabbing the heat win and getting second place in the race today puts you up to second in the points, second in the segment points, and you got one race left. What's your outlook for Rockingham in 2 weeks?
Yeah, Rockingham was one of the first tracks I really learned on iRacing in the old age or the old days, I should say. So I feel pretty good about it. You know, it's been one of my better tracks for a while, I like to think. So I'll have to reference off Blake Reynolds a little bit for some tips there because he's extremely fast there. But yeah, bumpy track with a lot of character, so I think it'll play right into my strengths.
Zach, is this a case of maybe the track just suiting you between Richmond and maybe even Rockingham too? Are these drivers sort of tracks or places with those sorts of reputations, places that might just suit you a little bit better to the point you made?
Yeah, I think drivers' tracks are always gonna, help me out, and especially when it's hot and slick like it was tonight, that really helps me out. So, yeah, luckily we have quite a few of them coming up on the schedule. Pretty much the next 6 races or so, besides Talladega, is all what I would consider drivers' tracks. So, yeah, just gotta keep on rolling and try and take advantage of it.
Go back to our media members and go to Seth.
Zach, Seth Egger from Race Face Digital and Motorsports Hotspot. In the heat race, Jordi Lopez had that penalty. Were you surprised at first when he pulled off?
Yeah. I kind of I don't know. It hit me so fast. I didn't even really realize that I was racing for the lead at that point and the pole once he pulled off. But I knew he went a little early in the box. I didn't think it would warrant a penalty, but obviously for my sake, I'm very thankful that it did, because it put us in a really good spot. Yeah, sucks for him, but at the end of the day, you got to be precise with everything. So one little mistake like that and your night's over.
How much did that change your strategy in the feature, starting from the pole instead of potentially from 3rd or 5th?
Yeah, I mean, I really just took the first 20 laps or so. I noticed I was kind of getting out pretty far, and I felt really good. My right rear had a ton of grip. I was basically not full throttle until we got halfway down the straightaway. So I was really taking my time and being patient. I tried to back up to them a little bit around lap 10 or so maybe, and it worked. I think it kind of helped me pace myself a little bit and put some dirty air on them. But yeah, just unfortunately, Steven was just too good on the long run, and there was nothing I could really do. But our pace was good, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, regardless of those late cautions or not, did you have anything to contend with Steven?
If it went green, no. Really, the race was won, in my opinion, off pit road. It was by inches probably that he got me, which sucks. But at the end of the day, like I said, points are points, and I'm happy about it. Just need to keep rolling, and we'll break through.
Zach from chat, when did you first start, I guess, sim racing, I suppose?
I might get myself in trouble with this one, but I joined iRacing when I was 10 years old. And I got into the eNASCAR series when I was 15.
Been at it for a minute. So.
Yeah. Been a long time.
Been a good long stalwart of the community. Zach, congratulations on your podium finish. Thanks as always for the time, and we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Zach Novak of the number 2 Lead for Billiard Supply Machine for Channel 199 Sim Racing. Runner-up this evening, Stephen Wilson picks up the win. Parker White finished in the 3rd spot. Vicente Salas was 4th. Donovan Strauss with a top 5 for Atlassian Williams Sim Racing. They take both drivers in the top 5, take top honors amongst the teams this evening. Dylan Alt for HIAC Motorsports was 6th. Femi Olot makes it 2 top 10 finishes in the team standings for Spire Motorsports. He was 7th. Tucker Minner, the top finisher for William Byron Esports in 8th place. Crawford led the Team Dillon Esports Brigade in 9th, and Daniel Falkingham for 6 Karma rounded out the top 10. We now turn our attention to the 2020 champion of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the driver of the number 25 Logitech G Chevrolet for William Byron Esports, Nick Ottinger. And Nick, just a crazy race. What was that like from your perspective?
Chaos. A lot of dumbassery, I would say. Just, that's what these races turn into, So, unfortunately for our Logitech G machine, we made it, 50 feet to the start-finish line and sustained right front damage. Unfortunately on the pacing, couldn't feel any damage, but once we got to, at speed, really just was a bad avenue for us to, be out there on track with other guys because we couldn't even turn into the corner. So I do want to apologize to some guys for kind of holding them up, but at the end of the day, I was just trying to turn to make sure I wasn't getting forced into the wall or something like that. So But chaos, that's what it was. Turned into chaos at the end. We have guys running into each other with some market breaks. Something pretty typical in this series anymore. And, I just want to say this, if we're going to plow on the wrecks, I don't think anyone would do that on a highway. If there's an 18-car pile up in front of you, I don't think they're just going to full throttle on the other guys. So I would love it, But at the end of the day, we race this series, race this game, all to try to, perform as best we can. Unfortunately, 4 races in, ain't looking too hot for us. But, yeah, let's see how it goes from here.
Nick, the general perception is that when you're racing on a short track, that damage doesn't necessarily matter as much as it would if you were racing at somewhere a little bit more high speed, like an intermediate or a plate track. But how does damage like that affect you when you're racing here to Richmond or a Martinsville or a Bristol?
Yeah, I mean, you spend hours, days, realistically getting your setup optimal, right? So anytime you have something pushed out of alignment, which is what we had tonight, you're just along for the ride, right? That's just not a good avenue, when you're trying to race, ultimately, the top, 30 other 9 drivers out here. So they're going to take advantage of those situations, and, rightfully so. You can't be held up in a circumstance of, short track and just be, a row behind on a restart. So yeah, it's detrimental when you have any damage, especially when you're trying to lean on the outside tire as much as you need to at this track in this car. So, unfortunately, short track racing promotes that a little bit, especially in this car, and promotes some contact, which, at the end of the day, you're going to have some contact when you're racing, the top competitors on track. But our Logitech G machine had a really good pace in the heat race, and we're going to keep working hard behind the scenes, bring cars that are capable of qualifying up front, and ultimately race up front like we're accustomed to.
As always, if you've got questions for Nick, enter them in chat for the chance to have them asked here in the press conference. We turn our attention now to Justin from the media members.
Nick Ottinger, it is Justin Malillo from iRacing. Well, you're not too happy. We can see that, and it's been a very uncharacteristic start to your season. Seeing that you're 31st in points, and I can hear the discontent in your voice. Are you going to start changing the way that you handle the competition on the track? Are you going to start kind of playing back the way that they're playing towards you as far as like roughing them up?
That's a good question. It's a question competitors have to wait and see. Unfortunately, I had the pace to run up front, some to my own doing, but if a situation presents that itself, I don't just rough people up to rough them up. I race people how they race me. Last year, I'll bring up the incident I had with Cody Bias at Vegas. I made a mistake racing him, and unfortunately cost him a shot at the win, likely a win. So, I understand mistakes happen, in situations and moments. And, at the end of the day, we're going to keep pushing. We're going to make sure we're going to be in the battle where we need to for come playoff time. And, I look at it this way. We get the bad juju out the way right now. And if that's the way it's going to be, then that'll be good for our 25 team for the rest of the year. We'll have some good runs coming up. A new track with Rockingham for us, and we've already excelled at new tracks. So can't wait to bring our Logitech G machine, Celsius, William Byron Esports to the front again, and be competitive.
And Nick, is this a stretch? And you sort of hinted at it a little bit with Rockingham, but just looking at the next few tracks here on the schedule, you've got Rockingham, Charlotte, Nashville, Kansas, all places where you've had success in the past. Are you sort of looking at this next run of races as a place where you maybe can turn the season around?
Yeah, you got to look at the next race for what it is, right? Like, it's a new venue for us. So everyone's on a same level playing field, and that avenue, your best bet is to put your practice, preparation at the forefront with the teammate and the support cast you have. So that's what we're going to do. I look at those chances just as much as anybody else to make sure we can, get our ducks in a row and, excel. That's what we need to do. So we have a good stretch. You have Dega in a mixture of these next races, and, much like how tonight ended in chaos, Dega's probably going to be a chaotic race with a lot of movers, from the back to front, and, could be, a situation like we had tonight before the start-finish line being a wreck, and, have some unpredictability into it. So, yeah, that's the best answer I can give you there, Sir James.
Is there a this one also from a chatter? Is there a post race routine that you have, and does it change whether or not you're happy with or unhappy with the finish? But any sort of checklist you go through, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't just get off the computer after a bad race, right? Like I'll make sure I'm debriefing with my team, and dissect how the race went, dissect how our car went. And we'll move on, just seeing how we need to get better for, a certain track like Richmond. So we need to have the same, some improvements made for Phoenix later in the year. So we'll look at those, we'll make notes, and whether it's a good or bad night, it is what it is. You're trying to, just make sure how the night went, and whether it's bad, like tonight was, usually you have a good level head, but at a certain point, the way the series been kind of going the last year, 2 years, you just have a lot of, bad takes from what drivers are doing, and sometimes you just got to call it for what it is, and it's just bad racing etiquette, and it doesn't matter if it's, I'm on the bad end of it or not. So hopefully we'll rectify that as a series, and maybe people love the entertainment factor of it, but racing side, and racing etiquette's kind of lacked in the last 2 years. So I'm going to try to lead them by example like I've always had, and, race the game for what it is.
Well, Nick, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for stopping by and chatting with us, and we look forward to seeing you at the Rock. We turn our attention now to the driver of the number 8 C4 Walsh Strawberry Watermelon Ice Energy Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports, Blake McCandless. Blake, you have a penchant of sort of zigging where other drivers zag so far as strategy goes. What went into the call tonight to stay out late?
Well, James, honestly, I think a lot of it was just my experience as a broadcaster, being able to sit back and watch a lot of these races. And, I've been up there for 3 years, and I get a kind of a bird's eye view of everything. And, up there you get a good sense of, what history is like, and generally how this race or how races in this series play out. I just my spotter Matthews Wack, which by the way did a tremendous job there, especially in the last few wrecks, getting us through so we could get up to a top 20 finish. But he kind of told me something prior to the season, because he was in the series last year, and he said, there's a lot of opportunities that or races I kind of look back on and wish that I had tried something different, that I had taken a risk and maybe tried to go after some more wins. And, after we got 27th at Daytona, we were running top 10 at Vegas, didn't get the finish we wanted there. I won Interlagos with a 27th, in my opinion. But, I was sitting back there in 26. I knew I wasn't going to qualify very well tonight, and I didn't. And, you're just sitting back there in 26th, and, there's one of two ways it could go. You could be the guy that kind of follows what everybody else does, and, we were all going to take 2 tires there. We were all I was going to start 25th, which would have been right in the middle of everything, and, you're kind of not up to you at that point. Or, you could take a gamble and try to be up front and see what fate has. I mean, if those wrecks that happen when we're the leader, all it takes is 1 or 2 tire cycles, and we have a shot to maybe win or at least get a top 10 or so. But once it didn't work, I tried to be respectful. I wasn't trying to clog up lanes and block everybody. But I would have sat here afterwards. I probably would have been in that wreck if I had followed what everybody else did, and I just would have thought, man, so if I had stayed out, what would have happened? And at least now I don't have to worry about that. But I just wanted to try something a little bit different in our C4 Energy Chevrolet.
From chat, Blake always tries the alternate strategy. So what are you going to do the same thing as everything else for a change?
I don't know. I do prepare for these races in a way where I'm thinking about strategy all the time. And, luckily, Rockingham coming up 200 laps. It's a race where just off the bat, there's a lot of strategy openings. You 1-stop it, you 2-stop it. How far can you stretch it on fuel? Because Rockingham's a track that you can lift pretty early, save a lot of gas if you need to. We had a Rotopro race there last year that we tried some fuel strategy. It ended up not being the way to go. but it's something I look at every race. Heck, I was debating on the grid with my friend Matthew Zwack. If you guys saw what Luke Lambert and Carson Hocevar did prior to Stage 2 at Homestead last year, I was thinking of doing something like that in this race, just going like a second slower than if I was going to start in the back, hang off the pack, save tire, hope that maybe we got a 40 or 50 lap run, and then basically try what I did, but have way more tire to do it with, which we started a little further up than what we needed to be able to pull that off. But I don't know. I always try to explore because, it's not going to be on speed, I think, that I'm running up there with these guys. So I got to find a way to think outside the box and try to put our C4 Energy Chevrolet in victory lane.
Also, first race on the new rig. You've had it for a little bit, but this is the first Coke Series race that you ran. What's your feelings on that, knowing that you've run the same equipment for a while, so this has to be a big shift?
Yeah, it is different. In fact, it's different to set up my camera and everything. I was, getting in here and thought, man, how am I going to set up my camera? And then my Zoom crashed during the race, which is why I didn't get to talk to you guys during the race. So my bad on that. I knew Drew will be giving me some for that. But yeah, it's great. First off, I want to thank C4 Energy for this incredible opportunity to have this set up, because without them this wouldn't be possible. So really thankful to them and everybody at Sim Seats and Garrett Maines who was a part of getting everything lined up and ready to go, and have spent a lot of time over the last week or so just running anything I could on iRacing just to get used to it, to get comfortable. As we saw tonight, doesn't make me any better of a qualifier, at least yet. But it's definitely a lot different to be able to have, like triple monitors and a direct drive wheel and a brake pedal that works like I didn't have at Interlagos. And so it's a pretty cool deal. So just want to thank everybody at C4 Energy, because they made this possible for me to be able to have this set up. And, they want to give me the best equipment to go out there and try to win for them. And I got to do a little bit of a better job out of that. Top 20s are good. And, it's kind of, I don't want to say a goal, but, it's something I want to shoot for in every one of these races. But yeah, hopefully, we get a little more comfortable as the weeks go on, the races go on, and we can start fighting for wins here soon.
You came from the Coke Series booth last year, over the last few years, into the driver pool this year. Now that you're on the other side, do you miss calling these races at all? And have you brought some of those skills to your Twitch streams, maybe?
I would say it's definitely a lot different. It's a lot less stressful broadcasting. I can tell you that. A lot more time goes into this to, do all the things to prep, to do the setup, to work with the amazing people that we have at North Force Racing, Jarrett Liebert, and just everybody does a terrific job in preparing for these races, and it's definitely an adjustment. I do kind of miss having the bird's eye view. It was kind of weird, in Heat 2. I ran in Heat 1 tonight, and during Heat 2, I'm just kind of sitting there and watching the race and kind of thinking, like, man, it would be nice to be in the booth, but there's nothing like being a part of it. So as much as I love broadcasting, and if driving wasn't a thing, I'd definitely love to be up there. But I'm enjoying the driving experience. Everybody at Junior Motorsports has been awesome to work with. And just trying to get my feet wet too, because I said in the broadcast booth all the time, these are the best drivers in the world, and they will make you work hard. I know sometimes we don't, do the greatest job of showcasing it, and sometimes when we have races in like this, but it's very challenging mentally to be a part of this series, and I'm enjoying the challenge of being a part of it and seeing how we stack up versus everybody.
Finally, Rockingham coming up. Your home track on the sim, your favorite track. I know a lot of people are going to be excited for it, but it's got to be a little bit more meaningful for you, I think. Yeah?
Absolutely. We got a special paint scheme ready for that race. I won't spill it on here, but we got something really special planned that is going to be really special to me, and I'm really excited to debut that. And again, thanks to everybody at C4 Energy, because I think it's going to be really awesome to show what we got there. But yeah, Rockingham is that's the one I've had circled on the calendar all year long. It's a track I love. and we get 200 laps at it. So I'm gonna soak up every bit of it. We got a lot of strategy in that race. Even if I qualify like crap, like I always do, we still got 200 laps to make it up. So really looking forward to that race. I think it's gonna be a very dynamic track. You're gonna have to be good at running the bottom. You're gonna have to be good at running the top. Gonna be really difficult to set up for because again we're always throwing these cars as hard as we can into the ground. But Rockingham's so bumpy on iRacing that you can't necessarily do that. So it's going to be a fun race to prepare for. It's going to be a fun race to run. I think it's going to be a fun race to watch. So really looking forward to that one. And as far as, firing out of the gate, that's one of those tracks that people either love it or they hate it. I absolutely love it. And I think we're going to have a really strong C4 Energy Chevrolet when we get to Rockingham in a couple weeks.
Blake, thanks for the time. Best luck to you at the Rock. We look forward to seeing you there. We now turn our attention to Garrett Lowe, driver of the number 99 BS Competition Chevrolet Camaro. Garrett, big last few weeks for you, and to have at least a strong qualifying run, strong heat performance. Not necessarily reflective of your pace all the way throughout the night, but certainly some positives you can take out of this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll try to keep my responses to under 3,000 words. Sorry, Blake, that was long. But yeah, I mean, it is about as you could have run a whole race by the time Blake finished talking. I'm sorry, I got to give him for that one. But yeah, I mean, we run sprint races now, so it's really hard to prepare. You spend 2,000 laps for a 70 lap race and a 25 lap feature. It becomes really challenging to honestly make passes, be patient. You can't be patient because you'll get run over. But then if you try to not be patient, you run through somebody else. So it's a lose-lose scenario for sure, and then it does make it frustrating. But trying to build on the positives. We did have a good qualifying run and had a good heat race pace, I thought. So build on that.
Seth.
Garrett, Seth Eggert from Race Face Digital and Motorsports Hotspot. It wasn't the night you wanted tonight, but you did have that big news about the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series in the last couple weeks. How do you separate a race that went the way it did today from news like that and from the next event you're going to do, whether it's real life or on the sim?
Oh, you just got to separate it between sim and reality. I've always, done that as far as keeping the two separate. It is, occasionally do have the, events where I'm racing on the sim from the actual real life event I'm racing. So we do have a good bit of crossover, but, keeping it separate, I mean, it's almost a mindset. You just have to be able to switch back and forth between the two. So for me, it's, disappointing, but I know that, into this week, I got to regroup and reset and go run the Prodigy Racing League at New Orleans this weekend, and not take anything that happened tonight as part of that real life action.
And how difficult is it to balance racing on the sim, the Prodigy Racing League, the short track racing that you've done over the years, and now the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series?
I mean, it can be challenging, right? For me, it's more challenging because I'm, working at a cup team. So that's, having a part-time job is not as easy. I'm able to kind of work through racing schedule, real and virtual, to accommodate that. And it is challenging. There's going to be a few races this year where I'm probably landing on a Monday night and then got to go run the NASCAR race on a Tuesday. So it'll be pretty challenging. I'll actually be in Munich, Germany for the Rockingham race, it looks like right now. So travel and logistics is going to be a big challenge this year, but we're pretty prepared for it. I've done it quite a few times. I think I have the most different venues I've ever run in a professional series out of just about anybody. So we'll take care of it.
And as far as running in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, one of iRacing's broadcasters, Ryan Vargas, he ran in it last year. Do you think you might lean on him at all going into it this year?
I haven't yet. I may, for sure. Obviously, he has a large oval background. I have a little more road course experience than I think he did when he started, but nevertheless, it's still somebody that's been in a NASCAR stock car that has taken it overseas. So, definitely look to him for some information.
Garrett, those who might not know that you've got a bit of a new job opportunity with a Cup Crew. So, who are you working for, and how long did it take to have to put that announcement together?
Yeah, I'm currently at 2311 Racing, just engineering intern. So not a full-time employee per se, but yeah, definitely getting some experience in there. And yeah, the announcement's been for the Euro Series has been a long time coming, basically since December. We've been working through partners, sponsors, logistics, the teams, series. Yeah, I mean, it's been 3 months in the making, if not 4. So for us, it was a big day for sure, and to get that out of the way and kind of look forward to getting in the car and going to test and start the first race this season was a big relief, but also making sure we celebrate the opportunity.
Also means that you get to see Keegan Leahy, old-time driver in the Coke Series, over there a little bit. Have you had the chance to connect with him a little bit and sort of reminisce on your shared background in sim racing?
Yeah, we actually, quite a few of us have. It's been pretty fun. Obviously, Eric Smith as well, former Coke Series driver. So, yeah, we get a good laugh here once in a while at some of the old stuff we used to do or used to have to do. It's good fun to catch up with him for sure.
Also, any foods you're looking forward to trying once you get over to race in Europe a bit?
No, dude, I'm not a food person, so like cheeseburgers for me are just plenty good. Cheeseburgers and steak, for sure. I have heard Italy's pasta and obviously the pizza. I have to try that, so I am looking forward to that. If I had to look forward to food, it's that.
Fair enough, Garrett. Thank you for the time. Congratulations on the run this evening. We'll see you at Richmond in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks.
We're now joined by the driver of the number 4 Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Chevrolet Camaro, Donovan Strauss. New number, good run. Let's talk about the run first. Top 5 here. How excited are you for it?
Yeah, I mean, we ran great tonight. I kind of mistimed going out and qualifying. I went out too late, I felt like, and that kind of it set me backwards a little bit, so I had to make it up in the heat. I knew I had the pace to run at the front, but I just kind of started too far back to contend for the win. And then I got that damage early, but it didn't really seem to affect me. So I got past Femi on that long run before that yellow with a couple laps to go, and ran 6th, and then all that chaos happened at the end, and we finished 5th. So I mean, I didn't really net lose out of that yellow. I hated to see it because I know a lot of people who were running good got killed in the last couple wrecks with those green white checkers. But regardless, I mean, we had a great run tonight, and good day to build on.
Also joined by the driver of the number 95 Chevrolet for Atlassian Williams Sim Racing, Parker White. Parker, you and Donnie go 3-5, 2 top 5s in the team standings this evening. How important is that for your organization, especially as you try and mount a bid to go back-to-back teams titles?
Yeah, it's very important for us. Any day we get a top 5 with both of us is very big. It's kind of funny because I told my friends before this race, this will be the race where my top 5 streak ends, because I think this is like 8 straight races where I finished in the top 5. So definitely got very lucky there. I felt pretty good on that long run. I think I burnt the tires off just a little bit too much here at the end. I let Casey go, and then next corner we had a caution. So just got really lucky there on those restarts, so to pick up those positions and find myself into the top 3.
We'll open the floor up to questions for Parker and Donovan. If you've got questions in chat, punch them in for the chance to be asked. We turn our attention to Justin once again.
Justin Malillo from iRacing. Question for both of you, actually. I'm pretty sure I saw on social media that you guys took a trip over to the Williams compound for their media day. Tell us about that. How was that all like?
Yeah, that was a great trip and a great opportunity to be in another country. And me and Parker both can't thank Williams enough for having us. And we had a bunch of media content out there, so it was great to just meet everybody, especially for me, being at Williams for the last 4 years, and it's been a long journey. So I'm thankful I got to check that off the box before the wheels fall off for me in the series. But I'm thankful for the opportunity and to meet our whole team. It was a really unique experience, and just to meet everybody out there, it was really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree with everything what Don said. It was super cool for me to meet everybody that I've been racing with for the past couple of years with Williams, and they did just such a great job at organizing everything for us and getting to tour the whole facility was very cool.
Our producer Drew wants to know if you actually were you able to fly the plane, Parker, while you were going over there? We know you like flying.
No, that's a ways away. I'm still working on my private, so no, that's a ways away.
Another one is what kind of food did you get to try while you were over there?
I personally, I'll go first here. I had the fish and chips my first night there, and then I tried McDonald's my last night. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I went and tried that. It's totally different. It's crazy how different the food is out there, and that's the biggest takeaway I had, honestly, was how different the food is compared to our country. So, but it was just great to be out there and try that stuff and see all the historic buildings and the museums, and it was a cool city, and I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity.
Parker, while you were over there, were you able to do any plane spotting? I know recently one of your photos was highlighted here in the States. I forget what the account was on Twitter, but I know one of your photos was highlighted recently.
Yeah, funny you say that. So we landed at Heathrow, and I had my camera ready. As soon as we landed, I knew I was going to see like a ton of like British A320s and stuff, which we don't get those over here in the States. So I had my camera out and ready. There's like a KLM 737 that landed right after us. So I got a ton of pictures of that. But yeah, just super cool to be there at Heathrow. I'm very big into planes, so it's cool for me to get to see all the other airlines that are there.
Any unique ones that stood out to you that maybe you haven't seen before or have rarely heard of or seen?
There was one airline that landed right after us. It was on an A220. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like I said, the big thing for me was like seeing all like the British Airways A320s and everything. Getting to see all the British Airways tails lined up at the terminal was cool. Then we were leaving. I saw like a Finnair A321. I know what I'm saying right now might like nobody probably understands it, but over there it's pretty common, so it's pretty cool.
I have no clue what you're talking about. Just wanted to say that.
Well, Donnie, we could always educate people in Parker, I suppose, about the flag carrier airlines of the Netherlands and Finland, right? Always a good time, right? Man, Parker, I thought you were going to back me up there, Parker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could.
But neat. So, Donnie, we know that Parker was all in on the planes. You know how big he is on that front. Was there anything sort of culturally about the UK that stood out to you?
Yeah, just all the museums they had and the libraries and just how old and historic the buildings are. I always find that stuff very interesting. And I knew once I had the opportunity to go see that stuff, I went and took a trip right away when I was over there and went and saw everything, and just how old and historic all those buildings is very it was very unique compared to where I'm at. So it was just it was great. Honestly, it was just great.
One question for both of you to wrap up your time here. Atlassian Williams Sim Racing is a bit of a unique organization, just in the sense that they have so many different disciplines and series and categories that they compete in. So to be part of an organization that stretches so big, not only in sim racing, but in real life too, and to get the chance to sort of see that a little bit when you went over there, what was that part of the experience like? And I guess what is that experience like racing for William?
It was really big for me personally, because we get over there, we see all the F1 cars, we go into the museum, and then it's like we're really here right now. Like we got to see everything, like all the historic cars. It was just super cool for me personally. And then we went up into their sim room with all their sims, and there's a big picture of an AMG on the wall. And it was kind of funny because I knew I was driving that car when we did our media photos last year. So that was also cool for me to see. And it just being a part of an organization with such a big name has been very big for me over the past couple of years, and it's for sure helped me grow a lot.
It was just great to meet everybody from every single platform that they compete on, and just respect what the other platforms are and what they do compared to what me and Parker do. So like I said, it's just me and Parker are the only ones on the eNASCAR side of things. So it was cool just to see the diversity and even in just personality with how everybody was, and just that was the big thing for me. It was just great to meet everybody and all be together when we're all one. So that was my big takeaway.
Well, Parker and Donovan, congratulations on your run this evening. Thanks for the time as always, and we look forward to seeing you at Rockingham. We are now joined by the driver of the number 97 Logitech G Chevrolet Camaro for William Byron Esports, Tucker Minter. Tucker, season's best qualifying efforts, season's best finish since Daytona. So first top 10, or rather third top 10 in the last 4 races for you. Have you just been able to hit the ground running? Have you found momentum, or is it something else that's allowed you to start off so strong?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't feel like it's momentum. Daytona was nice to end up getting a good finish to start the year for once. But I mean, through Las Vegas and Interlagos and here, I mean, we really felt like I've expected a little bit more. I made a few mistakes in the race, not managing it as well as I probably could have, that have kind of, cost me a few positions. And we were looking for a little bit more tonight, but like we had the speed, just didn't execute properly over that long race run. And then once it turned to pinball at the end, I mean, it's, anybody's guess on what's going to happen.
Is it tough to sort of manage that? And does this sort of become a wild card in that sense, the same way a lot of people would look at like a Daytona or a Talladega?
I mean, it doesn't make it a wild card because it's just about every other race we have one of those late race cautions for someone wrecking for a 34th or 35th, and it just jumbles everybody up that's really competing up front and has been competing up front and put it together a solid race. It's frustrating when you have people just kind of take that, and I mean, you see it where the guy that wrecked for 34th got a top 15, and the guy that wrecked him got like 17th, like 20 spots better than they were running. And then people stay out on that caution and just rearrange everything that should be happening at the front naturally because they have nothing else to lose. So I just think stuff like that is frustrating, but you can't see it as a wild card because it's like every other race. So it's kind of the you can't expect a race like Texas like we had last year where we go green to checkered. So you just have to take it in stride, have an idea of what you're going to do short run, and hold on and hope that you don't end up getting turned.
We'll go back to the media members and go to Justin here. And as always, if you have questions in chat for Tucker, enter them in for the opportunity for them to be asked here. Justin.
I just got a quick one for you, Tucker. Justin Malilla, iRacing. You mentioned on social media earlier tonight that this was your home race at one of your favorite tracks. What stands out to you about Richmond? What makes it so special besides it being your home race? And, is this a track that you would definitely like to see yourself winning at one day?
Yeah, I mean, I really love to win at Richmond. I was pretty frustrated with myself over that long green flag run because I feel like I kind of made some decisions with when I chose to kind of push and when I didn't, that ended up hurting me, making me lose time to Steven and Bobby and them, kind of burned up my tires too much. It was it's the closest track to my home. I got to see my first in-person race at Richmond Raceway. And then just driving it on the sim, it really seems to suit my driving style for the most part. Kind of that technical line that you can run, right on the bottom is really something that I enjoy running. And then even when it moves up, it's kind of fun still. So I definitely enjoy racing at Richmond when we're not just running each other over all the time. The last 10 laps or the first 10 laps.
I suppose I'll ask this on behalf of producer Cisco. He wants to know about the lean. Is that something that you're conscious of in the moment, or is it just instinct at this point?
No, I mean, I didn't know I did it until I guess the first time I was racing in the Coke series and I saw a video of myself. And I don't even think about, I feel like when I'm driving, my vision is more or less straight up. It's what I want to see, or else I wouldn't be doing it. So, I finished the William Byron Esports track preview that Nick and I do for each race. We alternate, and I watched it back and I sent it to Nick, our intern, and he was like, I just told him, man, the lean is strong this week, and I just had a feeling that a lot of people were going to take note of it.
And as a follow-up to that as well, are you going to need a neck brace after tonight?
No, I mean, we only have these like 20-minute green flag runs. It doesn't. I mean, my neck doesn't get sore or anything anyway. But with these 20-minute races, not long enough for you to really feel tired.
In our Countdown to Green segment, we asked drivers whether or not they've been protested and what their experience has been like. So, Tucker, have you ever been protested on iRacing before?
Well, only once, and I think it was really ticky-tack protest. I was running an F4 race at Monza, didn't do a lot of practice for it, and we were just showing up and having a good time. And we went into turn one, as one does in the Monza chicane, and got run into, and that was no big deal. Didn't break my heart, but I had some left rear toe damage where the wheel was pointed kind of sideways, which makes it tricky to drive. And I didn't tow back to pit road. I just held my line off the side of the racetrack, and somebody protested me for driving a wrecked car back down pit road, which I think is a bit, I didn't cause a wreck, and I held my line, and I didn't put anybody in, a bad spot. So, but I've never intentionally wrecked anybody, even in the Coke Series or anything like that. So I guess I've been protesting the Coke Series. We're high on incident points right now for reasons I can't understand, but we just move on.
Tucker, what's your favorite race on the Coke Series calendar?
Well, I mean, the ones I win pretty much. I would have told you I would have disliked Nashville last year until we got going. But generally, Charlotte, the longer races are more enjoyable to me. Races where you can get into a rhythm, and so that just kind of naturally ends up being the 1.5 mile racetracks. We seem to have those longer green flag runs. Like Texas last year was good. I'd like to like Homestead a little bit more if we had a little bit more speed. So, but those 1.5 mile tracks kind of seem to be the sweet spot for where we actually end up racing one another and having some good action.
We noticed in the back of your shot there, you've got a few boxes of Logitech G gears. So do those boxes stay there permanently when you're racing, or do they come out for Coke Series races, or do you miss cardboard recycling day, or are you hiding something in there? What's with the boxes and what's in them, or is it just more good sim racing gear?
Yeah, I mean, just showing off the excellent products that our sponsor Logitech G has. I've got the Logitech Pro pedals, as you can see very prominently, and the Logitech Pro direct drive steering wheel, along with all the new accessories they've come out with. They've come out with a formula style rim and another oval style rim, and they have the button box that accompanies that. If you want to attach your own steering wheel, that maybe an MPI wheel or something like that to it. So just trying to show that off for our our wonderful sponsors at Logitech G. We really appreciate what they do.
Well, Tucker, thanks as always for the time. Congratulations to the strong run. We'll see you at Rockingham in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Rockingham, the next track on the calendar for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. That'll come your way Tuesday, April 8th, 2 weeks from now, 8 p.m. broadcast start time, Eastern time, 7:30 pre-race on eNASCAR.com/live. A big thank you to all the broadcast team for the Coke Series this evening, and for the production team headed up by Drew Adamson at iRacing, for Camille Salazar Hadaway, Alec Cabana, Ryan Vargas on the pre-race show, and for Evan Pichot and Kenneth Bueno on the race broadcast. Thank you so much for watching iRacing's coverage of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series from Richmond. We will see you in 2 weeks from the Rock.